Yeah. Turn it up. Let it breathe. Talk that truth in it. Woke up Sunday, coffee black, truth on my mind, world gone sideways, can't tell wrong from right. Everybody shouting, nobody listening clear, then a voice cuts through like a bell in my ear. Said, hold up, truth ain't shaped by the crowd. Cut through the noise, don't follow it loud. Flip open pages, let the word speak first. If you build on sand, you bound to get cursed. It makes sense when the lie breaks through, when the lies fall down, and you see what's true from the mic to the soul. Yeah, he keeps it tight, and they tip it. Talking truth in the night, it makes sense. Yeah, it all lines up when grace runs deep, and the truth ain't cut, no compromise, no watered down fence. Real talk, living like it makes sense. Yeah, diamond. Ideas rolling, faith over fear, yeah, the truth stay golden. Culture try to twist what reality means, but Danny break it down like surgical beams. Not vibes, not trends, not whatever feels right. It's logic with a backbone, faith in the fight. Romans 14, when the people divide, he remind you who to judge, let that truth collide. See the world say blend, he say stand firm. Not hate, just truth, let the scripture confirm. No cheap grace, no pride in disguise, just Christ at the center, no compromise. Yeah, you can run from truth, but it's still gonna stand. You can build your life, but check what you plan. From the trial of Christ to the lies we defend, history speak loud if you listen again. Not here for clicks, not here for fame, just speaking that truth in the culture of games. New year, new hope, but grace stays the same. You don't start from scratch, now remember his name. Not hustle is holy, not chasing the grind. It's freedom in truth, yeah, we're new in your mind. It makes sense when the lie breaks through, when the lies fall down, and you see what's true from the mic to the soul. Yeah, he keeps it tight, and he tip it. Talking truth in the night, it makes sense. Yeah, it all lines up when grace runs deep, and the truth ain't cut, no compromise, no watered down fence. Real talk, living like it makes sense. Yeah. Not everything true feels easy, but truth, it still makes sense.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back. It has been a while, and let me tell you, we are going to come with a fire today, and I hope you enjoyed that little intro put together by yours truly. You see him on the screen, the man, the myth, the legend, Josh Cummins. This sir right here is my producer, but also the CEO of Revolver Broadcasting and FFP and the Hangout and oh gosh, what else is there, Josh?
Many. Morning Word.
Yeah, Morning Word. There we go. And just a bunch of shorts and fun things. There's a lot of great content out there on Revolver Broadcasting. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. But I just want to say thanks for showing up and being here today. We are doing a little bit different. So if you watched old episodes of It Makes Sense, it was just me. And I'll be honest with you, I just do not like being on screen. And so I did some audio for a while, and I'm doing currently some audio shorts, and I've been playing around with some short videos instead of just the audio, doing some video shorts, talking about various different topics. And so we've got quite a few out on that. But I told Josh, I said, hey, brother, this whole, I know video is really a lot of fun and it's where it's at. And I want to do that, but I can't stand being on screen by myself. And so can we get a camera on you so we can just talk back and forth? So that's what we're going to be doing. That is going to be the longer episodes. The live episodes of IMSP are going to be that, because you know what? I hate doing things alone. And so me and Josh are going to have a lot of great conversations. We're going to dig in. We're going to challenge each other. probably going to agree a lot on most everything, but you're going to get a lot of great stuff. Still, it makes sense. Okay. And it makes sense if you're new to the show. It makes sense is about seeing life in the universe through the lens of the Christian worldview. Why does the Christian worldview make the most sense of life in the universe? Well, that's what we're going to talk about here. And we got a great show for you today. Before you do that, and after this show is over with, what would be awesome is if you could like, or what do we say? Sharing is caring.
Yeah.
Subscribe to the channel. Okay. Hit that notification bell. So whenever we're on, you'll get the notice and you'll be able to jump on and check things out and give it a listen or get in the chat with us. And we'll communicate with you and talk with you and answer any questions or just hear your comments and hear how terrible maybe I am or how wrong I am or whatever it is. We take all kind of criticism here, positive and negative. So we want to have a good time and we have a great conversation. So I'm going to let Josh, I'm going to throw it over to him. He's got some things to share with you. So that way you stay in contact with Revolver. You can engage with us. There's so much stuff going on with Revolver Broadcasting. I'm going to let the man share that with you. Go ahead, man.
Yeah. So what I encourage you guys to do is go to the website, revolverbroadcasting.com. The website again is revolverbroadcasting.com. Pretty easy to remember, right? You already love Revolver Broadcasting, so
yes, sir.
Why wouldn't you visit the .com? But if you go there, it'll look much like this. For our audio listeners, you just have to go there. You just have to go and experience it for yourself. But for those of you who are viewing right here on video, on live, or on recording, well, then you're going to see, if you hover over where it says podcast, you'll see all of our shows there in one place. Or you can scroll down on the website as well, put the faces to the names. And hey, let's say you want to listen to some It Makes Sense. And you'll click on that Listen Here tab, and it's going to take you right into every episode ever of It Makes Sense podcast. Plus, it continues to just keep filling out as long as you hit that load more button, of course. And then you can even watch the live episode. I think we fixed. There was a bug in there before, and I think we fixed it now to where even if there's a live episode going right then, you can watch directly from the website. You can also visit our news chambers where there's devotionals, the prayer list, news stories and assertions. The daily devotionals written by Danny Tippett over here, and it's meant to deepen your faith and to make you think. And I highly encourage you guys to read through these. Sterling and I have been using them on Morning Word as subjects to talk about in our post-show discussions with our premium content subscribers. So it's been a lot of fun to just sometimes butt heads, it's great because then you learn each other's boundaries, you learn what people are thinking, and you learn new things about each other and about your faith. And it's lovely, honestly. So yeah, go in there and make sure that you guys are reading those, comment on them. We love when you guys comment on them. It helps us get better and better and better. So I've been thinking about doing some of those myself. Also the prayer list. If you want to pray for folks, so then you can go over here where the prayer list, and you can pray for folks by name. We have an entire prayer list it goes. It's an extensive list too, but we have tons and tons of people. Almost 40 people now that message me every single day saying that they're praying for everybody on our prayer list by name. So if you want to be added to the list, fill out the email form at any part of our webpage, and all those emails come directly to Sterling and I. And
that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Because we want to pray for you. We want to pray with you. And also, finally, the shop. I can't say enough about how cool the shop is. We have a collection for pretty much everything we've got going on at Revolver Broadcasting, with the exception of the Hangout. I still have to work on that. But you have the Christ is King collection, Revolver Broadcasting collection, Trump Bands, all the stuff. And, of course, everybody's favorite It Makes Sense podcast, where you can get the T-shirt and mug right now. And those things will expand as I, get some more input from Danny and what he'd like to have in store. But for right now, we've got the cool T-shirt and the wicked cool mug. So go over there and get one of those for everyone in your household. I know that you need some new threads. I know you need some new coffee mugs always. Who's
always
not recycling through?
Always new coffee mugs.
Minimum. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got too many coffee mugs. My wife says that anytime you get a new one, you got to get rid of an old one.
Mm-hmm.
I got two at one time once, so I had to get rid of two of them. So, Josh, thank you, man, for that. It's guys, got to check out the website. There's so much stuff on there, so much cool content, and it's been really a joy to be a part of Revolver and Josh. And if you don't know his heart, for you guys, my fellow brothers and sisters in Christ, if you don't know his heart, that prayer list should tell you everything. They keep up with it. They got people that are praying. You can be one of those people that can pray for each other's prayer requests and even give your own prayer requests. And I'm sure Josh might even enjoy hearing some praise reports from some of your prayer requests.
Oh yeah, we had some wicked big praise reports this morning during Morning Word. It was 4 in a row.
Awesome.
It was boom, boom. It was like, hey, we'll take that right off the list. That's great. We'll take that right off the list. That's great.
Yeah, praise the Lord, man. That's awesome, dude. I love that. That's what it should be, right? And I think there's too many podcasts out there, or organizations, companies, whatever, shows that talk about Jesus, talk about God, and they want to just talk, but there isn't that hey, we want to do more than that, And that brings me to something that I knew project that I've been working on for a long time. I want to share a little bit about. Right now, we are just very small and we're very limited on where we're releasing our shows. Right now, we're just on YouTube, but it's called Table 42. My son, Daniel Tippett, he's the fourth, and my friend, Zach Lahan. We've just dropped our 3rd episode. I will apologize. Our audio is not the best right now, but that is going to be fixed for the next 2 episodes, the next episodes that are coming out. So we're working on that, but I will say, just some great conversation we're having over there. We're looking at life and culture through a worldview, but we're really getting into the Bible and we're digging in on some topics there. So I encourage you to check that out. It's on YouTube, and it's just Table 42 Ministries. So go check that out when you get a chance. And again, leave a comment. We would love to talk with you because I will engage. I do not have any problems. Some people are like, hey, Danny, why do you engage with those people? It's like, I don't care. I mean, as long as you're just not calling me names and being rude, because that's pointless and fruitless. I'm going to talk with you. Disagree, don't disagree, agree, whatever. It's great, right? There we go. Thanks, Josh. That's why he's the numero uno producer of all time. So that's our YouTube page. We got some stuff on there from It Makes Sense that I'm crossing over to that page, but you're going to find all the content really on Revolver Broadcasting. There's some shorts on there that I'm releasing too, but the little short reels that we have going out, just a little taste of each full episode, but I really encourage you to dig into the full episodes. They're between an hour to an hour and a half. They got longer. Josh, is so funny because, after we did the interview for 3 hours, right? Mm-hmm. My son was like, oh my gosh, 3 hours? Are you kidding me? And I was like, dude, just when you go have coffee with a bro, you're just like talking. 3 hours is nothing, man. You're like, oh, we got to go now. Oh, dang it. I wanted to sit and talk more. And then we end up having, I can't remember which episode we recorded. We haven't released it yet, dropped it yet, but it was 2.5 hours. And I was like, so you're sitting there complaining about 3 hours, and we just had a 2.5 hour conversation that just was like smooth, man. I mean, like, come on, it's not that hard. Okay. So I just thought it was hilarious, but yeah. He's, kids, man, he's 21 and they got short attention spans, and but they don't realize when they enjoy something, they play video games for 6 hours. I mean, come on, it's not that hard when you're enjoying yourself.
That's right.
All right. So tonight I wanted to open up this, I guess, almost like inaugural episode live. I wanted to talk about something that was introduced to me. I had heard about it, but wasn't familiar with it. And it was actually introduced to me by my son's girlfriend. And she had talked about her brother had watched this movie called The Zeitgeist. And if you don't know how that's spelled, it's Zeitgeist. And so I was like, okay, that's interesting. And she was sharing with me some of the things that he was saying about it. And so I decided, well, I've got to take a look into this. And so it's broken up into 3 parts, and it's sort of like a 1980s acid trip gone wrong. It's really, really bad production. It's really weird and sort of out there. I was like, listening to it, I'm going, Josh, I'm like, dude, I don't know. I don't know if I can listen to this thing. I was so grateful that what I wanted to listen to was only the first third, about 20 minutes. of the movie. So I was, as soon as it started to shift into the next topic it wanted to discuss, I was like, okay, I'm turning this off. I don't need to worry about that. I'm going to just talk about that. And so I told Josh, I said, Josh, we got to talk about the Zeitgeist tonight. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the recent, like yesterday, maybe, recent indictment on the Southern Poverty Law Center, the SPLC. If you don't know much about them, they have been one of the left's, and I will say some of the right, leading attack dog going after what they deem to be domestic terrorists or just basically your anti-everything left. Okay. Now there are some things on there, obviously, things like racism, and there are definitely some neo-Nazi type of people and things like that are on there, KKK members and stuff like that. But we're going to go through some of the people and some of the groups that they've identified as being basically issues for America. And some of them are maybe not so shocking when you understand that this is driven and ran by the left of the aisle. But there are some of them that are on there is like, really? There's some good content, and it's pretty loving, honestly. Mm-hmm. So we're going to step through that a little bit, and I definitely going to talk about Iran. We'll talk about whether or not we should even be in this war. We'll talk about the Strait of Hormuz. Now, I want to be honest with you. I am not a geopolitical expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm just going to talk to you through from a Christian worldview. Josh is going to share his points on that. And I'm pretty sure, I know Josh has been talking about this on his other shows, because how could you not? Mm-hmm. But we're going to talk about that a little bit, and we may, if we have time, we may even get into some Islam and end time stuff. So we will dive a little bit into Islam a little bit with the Iran part, but that's sort of where we're going to go. I wanted to add a second thing on it, something I heard from a pastor that I follow that was talking about Islam and Christian eschatology, but that's a lot, and I got to do some more research. So we're going to wait possibly to the next episode to talk about that. But for right now, Josh, let's dive into Zeitgeist. Okay. Yeah, sure. I tell you what, I said I was going to wait on to ask you this question, but I'm going to just go ahead and get your thought real quick. And then I'm going to sort of break down the filmmaker. There was a guy who did a rebuttal to the film, and in the film itself, what was the purpose of everything? But tell me your thoughts when you first watched Zeitgeist. Like what stood out to you the most, and what rattled you the most, or did anything rattle you?
Nothing really rattled me so much as because it was a lot of false information flashing at you really fast.
Yeah, and
a lot of like definitive statements without any backup. But it was kind of like, here's this thing that I'm going to call you. I'm going to say it's information. This is for sure. This is for sure. This is for sure. This is for sure. And then they have nothing to, it wasn't like, and this scholarly thing or this news source or this, like, there was nothing that backed it up. This historical records, none of that stuff. It was all just so-called information just being thrown at you. That was really the only thing that it was like, okay, I gotta pause this movie every 15 seconds to go, wait a minute, is that true? Is that right? Constant fact checking. Yeah. But I watched it for the first time in 2009.
Okay. And so that wasn't too long after it came out. That's pretty new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Back then.
And it was already on YouTube at that point.
Yeah.
And I'd been going down all kinds of rabbit holes back then. But I ran across that film and I went, and conspiracy theorist me was like, really
I can see what I can. After watching it and then dipping a little bit into the next part, I can see why anybody who loves conspiracy theories would just be like, down the rabbit hole with that one.
Yeah. But it was mostly just with when it's talking about religion specifically or a faith in Christ, it was like boom, 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 boom. But nothing to back it up. It was just making statements and all these awful slides.
Oh, it's so bad. It was so bad.
It reminds me of the early days in our studio. It was like, wait a minute. How was our production value better than theirs?
Right. Yeah. It took me back to the science fiction movies where you could see the strings holding up the ships, right, as they're flying through space. That's when Star Wars came out. I was like, oh my gosh, no strings attached. Really? How'd they do it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's dig into this. I want to start off by just talking about the purpose of the movie. Okay. So I looked up some things. I'm just going to read this straight from my notes because it's just easier. But according to the official Zeitgeist website, and yes, there is an official Zeitgeist website. It is a movement, y'all. So it's sort of funny. A movement nobody knows about really. But I will say this. I'm sorry. I'll interrupt myself. The movement, actually, there's quite a bit in this that is filtered into mainstream thought. And so you can listen to some of this and watch it, and you can start to see how, some people may not know that the Zeitgeist might be a source for it or something that has pushed it. But there's all sorts of little things in this movie that people are going, like, they have thought of and had no relation to Zeitgeist. It's just similar secular thought or just anti-Jesus, like, assumptions, fairy tales, literally fairy tales, just out of thin air. They just came up with this stuff.
A lot of sharpshooting tactics.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about, like you said, and I'm glad you brought that up, that it was just like rapid fire, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about that. That's actually a technique used. It's actually a logical fallacy, actually. All right. So according to the official website, Zeitgeist is meant to refer to the intellectual, spiritual, and cultural awareness of the time. The stated purpose of the project was to explore what shapes humanity, how people relate to one another, what society is doing, and what it ought to be doing if we actually want a more peaceful, humane, sustainable, and healthy world. Now, sounds great, right? So far, I mean, hey, okay, I'm down with that, right?
Yeah, who wouldn't want that?
Right. So what is interesting that Zeitgeist, the movie, did not even begin as a film. According to the site, it started as a kind of vaudeville style type of multimedia performance piece in New York City that blended recorded music, live instruments, and video. It was performed for free over 6 nights, then shelved until a friend suggested Peter Joseph, the filmmaker, put the audio and video online. From there, according to the site, it just exploded. The claim is that within 6 months, the film had been viewed more than 50 million times on Google Video. Tells you how old it is. And that by 2020, the total estimated views across the film series had gone past 500 million, with uploads in dozens of languages. The site even says some have considered it the most watched internet movie in history. And I think, honestly, when I heard about it, that's what I heard. The About page presents that the first film as the beginning of something much bigger. It says the public response to Zeitgeist led to the 2008 follow-up, Zeitgeist Addendum, and then that attention surrounding those films helped inspire the Zeitgeist movement, which Peter Joseph founded in 2009. The site does try to make a distinction here, saying the films are Peter Joseph's personal work, while the movement itself is more focused at its core on economics and sustainability. The site also presents Peter Joseph as more than just a filmmaker. It frames him as a public activist and media figure, saying he founded the Zeitgeist movement, curates the Zeitgeist Media Festival, Lord help us, has worked with different organizations and working groups, has spoken internationally, and has been featured in multiple media outlets. It also notes that his work is produced and largely distributed through his company, Gentle Machine Productions, LLC. All right, so another thing is he's coming out with another one. And he's actually trying to raise money, from my understanding, to do a better version, hopefully. So who is Peter Joseph? Well, according to the bio that I've seen on him, Peter Joseph is an American independent filmmaker, author, and activist, best known for the Zeitgeist film series. On his official site, he says he's founded the Zeitgeist movement. We just talked about that. And presents the Zeitgeist films as widely viewed social critique projects. And again, sometime this year, actually 2026, there's going to be another installment of the franchise called Zeitgeist Requiem, which is supposed to premiere, and there's no date on that. I've not seen anything out when that's going to be coming out. I've not seen that it already has come out. Keep in mind, as we're going to go through the content of the Zeitgeist, he is not an ancient historian. He is not a biblical scholar or a specialist in any kind of early Christianity or history in that regard. He is a filmmaker and an activist. So that doesn't make him automatically wrong, though. I'm not going to, there's a lot of things I'm not an expert in that I can be right about. So doesn't make him automatically wrong, but we're going to go through this and sort of see. When you have somebody that has something that comes out like this, especially if you're a Christian, you got to pay attention. We have to pay attention to these things. If we don't pay attention to these things that come out like this, then what happens is the world just sort of gobbles it up, and it's going to grasp it, take it, and engage with it, ingest it, and then spit it back out. And then they're going to spit it back out as this is truth, this is fact, just like Peter Joseph did. So we need to test those claims, and that's what we're going to do today. All right. Now, there was another gentleman by the name of Dr. David Miano. He is a historian of the ancient world. He describes his work through World of Antiquity as an effort to bring serious scholarship to the public without collapsing into sensational claims. His academic background includes a BA from State University, New York, Buffalo, and an MA and PhD in history from UC San Diego, with emphasis in ancient Israel, the Near East, and early Christian history. So he's got some credentials. He's also taught ancient and world history at the college level for many years. So Peter Joseph, right, the provocative filmmaker, and then you got David Miano, who is the actual historian, the actual expert in this area. And he's basically asking this question, Dr. David Miano is, I'm just going to say Dr. David, what does the evidence actually say? And that's what he did. He brought out a rebuttal video, a lot shorter than the full video, and mostly just on the ancient Israel side. He didn't really dive into all of the other conspiracy theory stuff on 9/11 and all that. He just talked about how the claims that Peter Joseph made, introducing all of these ancient myths and legends and things like that, like Horus and Mithras and things like that, that as he spliced them in Christianity was spliced into it. And it's crazy. I was just looking at a thread on Facebook today, and somebody was saying the same thing. All I typed in the little thing was like, hey, another Zeitgeist follower, and left it at that, just sort of jumped out. But I'm like, it's crazy. Like, where do you get these things from? So we're going to talk about how that stuff has just been pulled out of thin air. And Dr. David Miano really brings out these claims to say, are these true? Do we have resources? Do we have places that things like this we're learning, and these facts are being claimed and revealed to us? So let's see here. Again, this is not a random internet documentary either. He's an activist, right? So remember that as an activist, he is going to he's going to do activism. I mean, it's apparent he is not a fan of Jesus Christ. So I want to talk about 5 big rebuttal points to the Zeitgeist. And Josh, I want you to help me walk through these. I'm going to give you a main point on each one of them, and then I'm going to tell you why it matters, and then we can discuss this, because I think for us as Christians, it's not just about the Zeitgeist. It is about any claim that we hear that is either somebody that is saying, hey, I heard this. What do you think about it? Or, hey, I heard this and you're wrong because I heard this. Okay. So one of the reasons, the first rebuttal point that Dr. Miano did was the movie overwhelms people with claims instead of proving them. And that is exactly what you said right off the bat. Right, Josh?
Yeah.
So one of the reasons Zeitgeist works on people is because it never really slows down long enough to let the claims be examined. It just keeps firing. Horus, Mithras, virgin birth, December 25th, 12 disciples, the crucifixion, resurrection, sun worship, astrology, and church conspiracy. It is one claim after another, and the sheer pileup of it all creates this impression that it must be credible. And that is, again, a classic tactic. If you throw out 20 dramatic claims in 5 minutes, most people are not going to stop and fact check every one of them. I've had conversations, maybe you can probably attest to this, Josh. I've had conversations online, and they'll respond to something, and then they'll list like 10 different rebuttal points that aren't connected, are all separate, and all need to be refuted or argued separately, right? And then they complain that your response back to them, arguing each 10 of the 10 points, is too long. But you're like, you just shotgunned all of this stuff at me. What do you want me to do with it? If I just go after one and then come back to the next one, we're just going to keep going back and forth and get lost in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, when that happens, we have to use discernment. So let me ask you, Josh, when you have somebody that's just like shotgunning you, just a bunch of different claims that they're trying to refute whatever it is your claim is, right? So if it's something like pertaining to God, right, the existence of God, and then somebody goes, well, then there's this, and this. Like, how does it make you feel? What do you do with that? Right? What's one of the first things you do?
I see this. What I used to do with it is I used to feel anger, and I go right into I'd right into like an angry rebuttal. We've been talking a lot about on Morning Word about like taking control of your anger and diffusing that bomb and giving that to God. And that being said, what I do with it now is I take a look at it when they're throwing all these different fallacies, or maybe there's some truths in there.
Yeah, right.
When they're throwing a lot of information, I'd say stick to the topic.
Yeah,
I had no emotion about it. And I get that out of there because if I give them the time of day with my emotion, my argument's over because my head is not clear. And so what I do now, especially if I'm in a debate, is I say, stick to the topic. If you can't stick to the topic, we're done. We cannot continue a conversation. We cannot continue a debate if the other person is continually going off topic and throwing this, that, and the other at me. And aside from sharpshooting, it's just where they just make claims without any backup. But there's also the just adding claims to add claims that, like you said, that has nothing to do with the central topic.
Right.
Yeah. So if you're going to add claims, they better be related to the second topic, and then I better be able to rebuttal every single thing that, just like you said. And I'm going to think through every single thing you said. So I'm going to be writing it down, or I'm going to be thinking about it as you're talking, so that I know exactly what I need to be saying, or digest it and go, well, I need to think on that one, and I'll address it too. You know, I'll say, hey, this one, I honestly don't know. We'll have to come back to that another day, and let it lie. And people, that must mean you just don't know this topic. And it's like, no, I just don't know that particular thing about this topic. You know, so that's how I would tackle it now. Before, not so well, but
it's like you can't never finish. And I think sometimes, obviously, it's on purpose because they're like, okay, well, you never talked about this before we can even finish that discussion we were having. And now we're going to jump to this because they started to feel like, well, I'm not getting anywhere with this guy. So I'm going to just sort of make him feel like he hasn't addressed this topic. And then you're jumping back and forth. And then, you know, when you're on like things like Facebook or something like that, like the threads don't just stay in order, right? I mean, you're trying to reply here and then you get lost here and then you're like, okay, I see the line is going this way. It's like, you just end up getting lost. And I think it's just them trying to make you sound a little bit more confused or confuse you intentionally, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're trying to confuse you intentionally. It's just like with anything, if you fill it with enough truth, you can throw lies in there and people will still believe it.
Right. Yeah.
The next tactic, if that doesn't work, then they start with ad hominem, and they're like, well, you're a this, you're a that, and I'm like,
yeah,
sure.
Mm-hmm. And you know, it's like, that's the thing. It's like, they never addressed this, so they must agree with it, or they don't have an argument for it, so I won that argument. It's like, no, we talked about number 1 and not number 9 through 2 through 10. You know, we're trying to focus on one thing here, man.
Yeah.
And let's just talk about that. And oftentimes, if you could just focus on the one, you'll end up knocking the other ones or some of the other ones out, possibly just by, one of them. I've done this before. Is like, you just gave me a premise that was self-refuting, and so we can't argue that point. And just so you know, your other 5 premises also are self-refuting. So we can't have even a discussion because you're just, what you were claiming is just knocking its own self out. So
yeah.
And it's also called Gish Gallop. by the way, when something like that. And I think there's another name for it, but it's called Gish Gallop, when you get these rapid fire claims thrown at you, that, some are misleading, some are half true, some are outright false. Some may be true, but they just get mixed up in everything. You can't even, and that's the other thing. Like, I would like to agree with you if you say something I agree with that is actually a fact or a truth, or an even opinion I agree with. I want to agree with you on some point, but it gets lost in the mix when you do all of that. So nobody, I think what they think is, well, I think they're right, honestly, and we see this in the media all the time. They think nobody's going to double check things. And if you give them so much, nobody's going to take the time. Some people will. I was one of them. They're not going to take the time necessarily, though, to go through and look at every single claim that was made, because you've got to rewind and stop and go and start and then write down like that. At least that's what I had to do. All right. I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, nope, got to go back. I missed that. I'm going to write that down, check that out. And that's what they assume. They assume nobody's going to do any kind of research on it and just be overwhelmed with it. And if you say it confidently, oh my gosh, man, confidence goes so far. I knew this one guy, he would get into places without any kind of badge or anything like that. And just because he walked in with confidence, like nobody questioned him because he walked in with confidence. Oh, he looks confident. He must be here for some reason, and he's supposed to be here. So they just, if you have enough confidence while you're just, spitting all this stuff out all at once, and you're doing it so fast and so much at once, then nobody's going to check it out. And really, this is the sad part, Josh. I know you agree with this. There's so many headlines with just one claim in the headline, and people read that line and they never read the article.
Yeah. We
live in this world to where it takes too long to read an article, or you got memes, you got GIFs, you got, these little quick shots out there that people are like, oh yeah, that must be true, because so-and-so said it. And it's like, go and do some research. I call
those headline harlots.
Yes. That's a great, yeah. So one of the things, the real power of the film, it's not mainly in the strength of its research, because we're going to talk about that here in a minute. It's in the strength of its presentation. Would you agree?
Yeah. It's a good presentation overall, though.
Yeah.
I have to give it that.
I mean, outside of the cringy, video and the cringy sound, it is almost like some kind of psyop. It's like it's like one of those things. It reminded me of. It's like one of those things when you're watching a movie and somebody is being tortured psychologically, and they're strapped into this chair, and then they're watching the screen, and there's like this real loud, crazy music, and they're showing nothing but all this madness on the screen, and they just continue to do it. Yeah. It's just like that's where I'm going. Like that made me feel like that. So this movie, not earning your trust by carefully proving what it says, that's for sure. So this is the next part. Okay. The second thing is the sourcing here is weak. It's fringe, and it's very much detached from mainstream scholarship. And this is where most people watch it will not dig in. Also, too, if they've already got a hint of what they believe about Jesus, or there's already this, hey, this Jesus guy can't really be the guy that this book says that he is. There's no way that he could be that. And how silly does it sound that God steps out of heaven and puts on human skin, right? Like, this can't be him. And so when they hear a story like this, where somebody could say that he was basically infringing on somebody else's copyright, they will just, okay, that works for me. That's all I need to hear. That's all I need to know. So this is one of the major problems with the Zeitgeist. It claims do not line up with mainstream scholarship. And instead of leaning on widely recognized experts in ancient religion and early Christianity, it leeches onto sensational, fringe, and questionable material. That is one of the major criticisms of the film. It pushes a thesis that runs against scholarly consensus while leaning on sources and authorities that are weak at best and unreliable at worst. So a lot of viewers assume the movie is summarizing standard academic knowledge. It is not. It packages fringe claims as though they are settled facts. This is where Dr. David says, He asks these questions, and he actually says, like, whenever we in this actual world of experts that are looking at ancient literature, ancient and historical events or stories, we got to ask some questions. Number one, what is the source? Okay. Number two, how early is that source? This is also what they use for determining the reliability of the New Testament. Okay. Three, is it primary or secondary? Four, is it being quoted accurately? And five, is the claim supported by the actual evidence? So Zeitgeist does not model that. It does not model careful sourcing at all. It makes major claims while leaning on weak, fringe, or badly handled material rather than recognized mainstream scholarship. So when I say the Zeitgeist does not model careful sourcing, I mean that its Christianity section leans heavily on writers, and I'm going to butcher these names, Acaria S, and S being the letter S, Gerald Massey, and Kersey Graves. None of these are historians of ancient religion. Even critics who trace the film's source trail said those authors are widely treated as unreliable, unscholarly, or fringe, and that many of the movie's headline claims collapse when you actually check the ancient evidence. So the First Lady, I guess this is a pseudonym, or one of those.
Pin name.
I don't know if it's an author name. I guess it would be Acaria S. Her actual name is Dorothy Milne. I'm going to say Milne Murdoch. She was an American writer and Christ myth theorist. Let me say that again. Christ myth theorist. She had a BA in classics and Greek civilization from Franklin and Marshall College and spent a year at the American School of Classical Studies at Athens. She wrote books arguing that Jesus was a myth built from earlier pagan and solar deity traditions. That is some academic background in classics, but she was not a mainstream historian of ancient Christianity or a recognized specialist in New Testament studies. Okay. So that is Dorothy Milne Murdoch, otherwise known as Acaria S.
Not to mention, there's an entire Reddit dedicated to showing how crazy her writings was.
Hey, what does it say? Bring some stuff up. What's up?
One of the first things it says right off the top of the list is, Murdoch shows little to no understanding of how historical linguistics work.
Oh, man.
Neither explains nor presents mythology in any sort of understandable way, with backing up none of her claims with facts. Wow.
Yeah, and they get away with it, man. They get away with it. So, it's almost wild that Peter Joseph is a product of his own invention, right? So he's over here trying to spit out the stuff to get people to believe what he is saying. Those that are, naive enough to be duped into not even doing the research and just sort of thinking, oh, this guy got to be right. And he's got to have done the same thing with these people that I'm about to bring up. So let me bring up this
books at the library.
Yeah. yeah. There you go. Gerald Massey, he's the other guy. So he's the second person, was a 19th century long time ago, English poet, writer, spiritualist, and amateur Egyptology enthusiast.
Oh, yeah. Well, enthusiast.
Yeah. I mean, I know some enthusiasts, man. And I tell you what, like, can you imagine a doctor being an enthusiast about medicine? Oh, yeah. I'm a medicine enthusiast. Yeah. I can do that surgery on you. Oh, my gosh.
It might actually be safer than some of the modern physicians, honestly.
Oh, facts. Those are facts. All right. So he had limited formal education and was largely self-taught. Now, again, not knocking self-taught. I think in a lot of ways, Charlie Kirk was self-taught in a lot of ways. He did a lot of his own research. He didn't have a very high education, right? He talks about his, JUCO education that he got. Didn't even make it through that, right? Am I correct on that, Josh?
Yeah, junior college, yeah.
Right. And he just read a lot of books. A lot of books, right? So it's self-taught, not so bad, but not for everybody. He became influential in fringe comparative. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe I'm saying this. He became influential in fringe comparative religion circles for drawing connections between Egyptian religion, and Christianity. But modern Egyptologists have widely dismissed his work as outside serious Egyptology. So he's basically an Egyptian conspiracy theorist, and one that's not very good, apparently. Do you got anything on him on Reddit?
That's what I was honestly, I was sitting there like scrolling it.
I mean, he's older, so there's probably
there's a ton of YouTube videos on him, people talking about him, but it kind of goes back and forth with the YouTube stuff.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he was 1800s, man. So there's probably not much on him.
Yeah. Some people look at some of his writings as fun to look at, but they don't hold it as any kind of historical fact. But it's just because they even have kids books that were written about him for kids, so they can kind of understand what spiritualism was and stuff. So I can understand why they might go down that road to kind of like explain what those things were, because he was a study case for sure of a lot of these different topics. But yeah, no Reddit for him, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, third guy.
Really funny right away with the other. Yeah,
that was awesome.
That came out quick.
All right, Kirsty Graves, another 19th century American free thinker, rationalist, writer, lecturer, and spiritualist, best known for the world's 16 crucified saviors. Sources describe him as a writer and lecturer with conflicting accounts about his schooling, but he was not a credentialed historian, biblical scholar, or expert in ancient religion in the modern academic sense. His book has been criticized for weak sourcing, omitted citations, and claims that go beyond the evidence. Again, I mean, like, if this is what you are, again, if Zeitgeist is purely entertainment, that is all you're expecting to get out of it. And you might get some fringe thinkers that are like, oh, you know what? It's like when people will say, what was it we were talking about the other day? They'll take a movie and watch it and think that it's a Christian movie, but it has nothing to do with Christianity, right? And so they'll start to just dial in, this is Christian here and that's Christian here. Oh, this must be a Christian movie, right? And you know what? The author, the director's an atheist, and the writers are all atheists, and this has nothing to do with Christianity. It's like 6 or 7 degrees. Was it 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon? Right. I mean, you can connect in any sort of way that you want to if you work hard enough at it. Doesn't mean that it's fact. Doesn't mean that it's a truth claim. So he definitely, again, it's interesting that Peter Joseph uses weak sourcing, and they also use weak sourcing. And so it's just more watered down. And if you're trying to make this, again, this is a viable and truthful claim about them ripping off, Egyptian stories to make Christ look more than what he actually was. And they even make the claim that he didn't even exist, which is even Bart Ehrman says, you are ridiculous for even thinking that Jesus did not exist. And Bart Ehrman's an atheist, all right, or at least an agnostic, at the very least. He argues that Jesus is not God, but he says Jesus did exist. So if Jesus actually exists, then, and most people agree, whether you're Christian or not, then that claim right there in the Zeitgeist was just sort of outlandish. Okay. Let's see. So you got 3 people that he used for his sourcing. The Zeitgeist does not model slowing down to verify specifics. It piles up claims, like we said, so quickly that viewers feel persuaded before even checking whether the details are actually true. It does not model fair comparison between religions. It takes loose similarities between Jesus and pagan figures like Horus and Mithras, strips them from their context, and presents them as proof of copying. It's not even a claim in the movie that they go, well, this could be, or this is similar, or, even if it's not even true, you could at least say some people believe, but it does not come off right. Am I off? Am I missing something, Josh? It came off as this is how it is, right?
Yeah, it was very matter of fact when it was spoken, and it's back to back to back, like you said before, so they can't fact check it. And nowadays we can. Now, 2007, I'm thinking, I'm sure he was thinking like, okay, well they can't go back and fact check it, but like now we can, and we can just go through it, like a quick Google search. Was Horus resurrected? Literally, just did that.
Right.
No. This is pulling from 14 different sources, by the way, for the AI overview. And it says, no, Horus was not resurrected in the traditional sense. And claims of him being crucified and resurrected after 3 days are generally considered modern myths or inaccurate comparisons to the biblical story of Jesus. I wonder how that happened. And then while Osiris, his father, was resurrected in the key stories, and the key stories of Horus, focus on his birth, his battle with Set, the devil character, and their mythology, and survival of poisonous attacks.
Right.
Yeah. So it has nothing, no comparison. I mean, right away.
Yeah.
We'll find that. So it's kind of like, okay, he never thought that would be possible. I'm sure that when he made the film, he wasn't
something.
Someone just go search it.
Right. Just a little something. Now, in some of my deeper dives that I did, there was this comparison of a battle of one of the Egyptian gods where they would, it was like whenever it was night, that meant that god won and had victory over day. And so day died. And then overnight, the next morning, they would fight again. And then night would die and day would win. And so because there was also sort of a connection that he tried to draw there with them as well. All right. So it does not model intellectual honesty about scholarship. It presents fringe ideas like Jesus never existed, which I just talked about. The movie presents Jesus never existed like an enlightened conclusion, not a fringe one. Mainstream scholarship does not treat mythicism that way. Broad reference summaries of the field say that Christ myth theory is a fringe theory and that mainstream scholars hold that Jesus was a real first-century historical person, even while disagreeing about many details of his life. Even non-Christian scholars who reject Christian doctrine still affirm Jesus existed. Like I said, Bart Ehrman is not an evangelical apologist by any stretch of the imagination. Has written critically about Jesus often, but he says Jesus is not a myth. He is and if you think otherwise, that's just a fringe opinion. Okay. He said that zero scholars take that seriously. The movie does not tell viewers where the real scholarly debate actually is. Did Jesus exist at all? But questions like, what can we know historically about him? Which gospels details are more secure? And how should miracle claims be treated? Reference summaries of the field note that mainstream scholarship generally regards Jesus' existence as settled. Blurs the line between popular internet contrarianism and academic consensus, and it leaves viewers with the false impression that historians are hiding the truth. All right, so he's building this momentum, right? And I would imagine that for the last 2/3 of the movie, like he's really got audiences probably captivated at this point. Mm-hmm. So the rest after that is going to be, I'm just basically converting people over to conspiracy theorism, right? Mm-hmm. So number 3, this is another rebuttal. The Horus and Mithras parallels are exaggerated, forced, or just false. So we're going to dig directly into what some of those claims were. This is one of the biggest places where Christianity section starts to crack. Zeitgeist wants people to believe that Jesus was basically copied from pagan gods like Horus and Mithras. But when you actually slow down and check the sources, many of those supposed parallels are just not there in the ancient record. With Mithras, for example, claims like a virgin birth, 12 disciples, crucifixion, burial, and a resurrection after 3 days are not supported by the historical evidence. Same kind of exaggeration and overreach shows up in Horus as well. It's one thing to say that different religions can share broad themes. That is not some shocking claim. Ideas like sacrifice, divine beings, cosmic conflicts, salvation, kingship, judgment, and life after death show up in a lot of places. And I will agree to that. But this is not what Zeitgeist is arguing. And it's not just saying there are some general similarities here. It is trying to argue that Christianity directly copied, and that is what it says in the movie, directly copied the life story of Jesus from older pagan figures. That is a much bigger claim than just sort of making some similar comparisons. So that's where everything really starts to break down. So let's talk about Mithras or Mithra. Why Zeitgeist comparison breaks down here? Well, first of all, Mithras was not born of a virgin. Standard ancient image is not of Mithras being born from a woman at all, but of him emerging from a rock. I mean,
I guess technically a rock is
the rock's a virgin, maybe. I thought that. I mean, honestly, that's a stretch, but maybe. Dude, I don't know. Often, so anyways, is often already formed and carrying items like a torch or dagger. Even the Britannica-style reference material and World History Encyclopedia both summarizes the tradition this way. So it's in Britannica and the World History Encyclopedia. Could you have opened that up at least before you done your movie? This is where I'm like, this is where I believe, like, I think when he did this, he was literally like, this is just entertainment. And then people started to go, whoa, okay, dude, we got to spread the gospel of the zeitgeist, and then that's where he goes,
sure.
I think I'm going to be a cult leader now, Yeah. So let's see. And what else?
I just want to tell people, the young people who are watching right now, if you don't know what an encyclopedia is, it was the internet before the internet. It was in a book form, and we had shelves. Everybody had, this at least a few.
Do you remember one? I'm the old man here. Do you remember seeing an encyclopedia?
Yeah.
A set? Okay.
That's how I did a lot of my studying growing up. Was my aunt had a full Encyclopedia Britannica set.
Yes.
A to Z, which was like, that's rich, because we had 2 or 3, because you could buy 1 or 2, right?
Right.
We want the thinner ones, like X and Y. But
yeah,
I could tell you a lot about zebras. No.
There you go.
But yeah, when I was studying a lot when I was growing up, my aunt had all the encyclopedias. So that was my internet before we had the internet.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, the Google, it was the encyclopedia. That's what it was, right? I remember just sitting down and just being like, looking at the pictures and being captivated, and I would just grab one of whatever letter and just flip through it and just read some of the information that was there. I thought it was the best thing. I was that kid that liked to go through the phone book too. If anybody knew, they actually had a paper phone book. Like, yeah, there used to be that thing. Aging myself out here, but I just automatically assumed people knew what an encyclopedia was. So for our older, more mature generation, you do. For those younger ones, yeah, you're using Chat GPT or you're using Google, I'm sure. Let's see. All right. So second thing, there's no solid evidence that Mithras had 12 disciples. World History Encyclopedia points out that Mithras is never actually shown with disciples at all, let alone 12 in any kind of gospel sense. It seems that some later popular writers took symbolic imagery around Mithras, like zodiac imagery, and turn that into the idea of followers, but that is a huge leap, and it is not the same thing as having an actual historical or textual tradition that Mithras had 12 disciples. There's no ancient record of Mithras being crucified. In fact, the basic problem is even bigger than that. There are no depictions of Mithras dying at all. Oh my gosh. None. In the central in any of the stories, it's treated as if he lived forever or eternally, I guess. If there is no death narrative, obviously there's no crucifixion. Mm-hmm. So there's that. There's no supported tradition that Mithras was buried for 3 days. I mean, okay, if he didn't die, then I would imagine he wasn't buried.
Yeah.
But then again, some people are buried alive.
Yeah, I'll say then it would have been there would have been a story about being buried alive, and
yeah, right.
Wait, guys.
Yes. All right. Yeah. So if the sources do not actually give you a death and burial sequence, then the buried for 3 days thing, that claim is being imported into the myth, not drawn from it. The common popular comparison works rhetorically only because people hear a Christian-sounding phrase and assume it must come from an actual Mithraic narrative. All right, another one. There's no historical basis for Mithras rising after 3 days. Of course, if he wasn't buried for 3 days and he didn't rise after 3 days, that's what the Zeitgeist claims. There's no historical record of any of that. It said World History Encyclopedia summary is blunt on this point. Mithras did not die on a cross, and there are no depictions of him dying at all. So not only did world history decide to say, okay, this is the story that was told in Mithras of the ancient records we have, it goes out of its way to say, oh, by the way, if there's any conspiracy theories out there, he was never crucified and he was never depicted as dying even at all.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I don't think that this could have been hard to find. Do you?
Yeah. Kind of sounds like Superman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? That's what we should compare him to, Superman.
Mhm.
Even the December 25th comparison is weaker than Zeitgeist makes it sound. World History Encyclopedia once again says there is no evidence that Mithras or Jesus was actually born on December 25th. And I know there can be a debate, and I actually have heard a great debate for December 25th, but nobody will just firmly say that positively Jesus was born on December 25th. Nobody. I think that there's some people that feel confident that that could be a true thing, thinking of the way that they talk about how Jesus might have been conceived 9 months prior to that, and that he could have been born in December, and that was one of the reasons they decided December 25th. But anyways,
West has the best argument I've seen for that.
Yeah, it's a good argument. The matter of fact, that's who I heard it from, and I thought that was really compelling. Let's see. So notes that later calendar observances are not the same as a historical birth claim. So even where there may be later festival overlap in Roman religious culture, that is still not the same thing as proving Christianity copied a Mithraic biography. Okay, so what Zeitgeist does with Mithras is take a religion with very different imagery and theology, then retell it in a Christian-sounding language with all of those things: the virgin birth, disciples, crucifixion, right, burial, resurrection. But when you go back to the actual summaries and you look at the actual evidence of this Mithraic tradition, all of it fails. All of it, none of it exists. It is just complete conjecture, completely made up. And if we're going to talk about fairy tales, then what they just made up was an absolute fairy tale. All right, so let's talk about Horus now, because Horus is a big part of this. Horus was not born of a virgin. Standard reference summaries identify Horus as the son of Isis and Osiris. Britannica explains that Isis was the consort or wife of Osiris and the mother of Horus, and another Britannica summary says Horus was magically conceived after the murder of Osiris. Okay. However strange the mythic details may be, that is not the same thing as a virgin birth in the Christian sense. Okay, they're stretching again. There's no historical basis for Horus having 12 disciples. The standard summaries of Horus mythology do not present him as a teacher moving around with 12 followers in anything like the gospel pattern. That popular claim belongs to later comparison literature, not to the mainstream presentation of the Egyptian sources. Horus was not crucified. Critiques of the Zeitgeist comparison point out that there is no crucifixion story of Horus, just like Mithras. Standard summaries of Horus mythology do not present his story in those terms. The comic mythic pattern is conflict with Set, not a Roman-style execution narrative centuries before Rome. And you had mentioned that just a few minutes ago. Mm-hmm. There's no clear buried for 3 days parallel. The Osiris story does not include themes like death, dismemberment, restoration, or royal succession. But that is not the same thing as saying, it does include death, dismemberment, restoration, and royal succession. But that is not the same thing as saying Horus himself was buried for 3 days. A lot of the popular comparison works by blending Horus and Osiris together, which is one of those things that was the confusion, I think, that he was trying to portray, was taking blended stories and pulling these from one figure to another and taking several traditions and sort of combining them and creating this sort of like one symbolic layer, right?
And I'm sure that happened quite a bit early on when Americans were taking on the early Egyptian history, because they lost in it, because hieroglyphs were still kind of fresh for a time, and
right.
Yeah, so we're deciphering. So I'm sure it got deciphered wrong quite a few times. So there was some books that were written that believed it was a certain way, and then once hieroglyphs were corrected through time, because they're like, oh, wait, no, this is what this actually means, and they were able to go back and say, okay, actually these authors can be discredited for these things because not because that they were wrong in what they were saying, they were going on what they thought was correct.
Right.
Now we know this is the right truth. Right.
Yeah. I mean, again, 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon. You can take so many different things and And if you manipulate it enough and massage it enough and fit in certain pieces and take out certain things and drop in other things here, you can almost make anything sound like anything else,
Mhm.
and then obviously bend a little bit. The resurrection claim, it's badly overstated. Critics of the Horus comparison point out that Horus is not generally presented as dying and rising after 3 days the way Jesus is proclaimed in Christianity. There may be some later or alternate strands that carry symbolic death and return themes, but that is a very different thing from having a clear, stable biography level parallel to Jesus. In other words, Zeitgeist takes scattered Egyptian imagery and squeezes them into a made-up gospel framework. The film flattens Egyptian mythology into a Christian template. It really does. It's weird. It's sort of weird too. It's almost like, which one are you trying to blend in and mash together? Because it really sounds like you're trying to make Horus sound more like Jesus than Jesus sound like Horus in some ways. Let's see. Horus is a major Egyptian deity tied to kingship, the sky, conflict with Set, and the Osiris myth cycle. Once those stories are left in their own religious world, the Jesus comparison becomes far weaker. The stronger the movie's comparison sounds, the more it depends on stripping Horus out of Egypt context and redescribing him in Christian categories. So the Horus comparison really works by compression and confusion. It blends Egyptian myths together, imports Christian-sounding language, ignores major differences, and then acts like somehow proves Jesus was copied from Horus. But when you look at the standard summaries of Horus, you do not find a virgin born, crucified, 12 discipled, 3 days risen Savior. That is a modern reconstruction, not the actual Egyptian record. And really, that is the problem with both of these two, right? The film takes myths from very different religious worlds, rips them out of their own context, rewrites them in Christian-sounding terms, and then pretends that resemblance equals copying. But once you actually check out the historical record, the big headline parallels start to fall apart in a hurry. All right. So that is really that. That was more or less what is. Do you think there's anything I missed on what somebody there? Oh, I will add this too. It starts off with a huge emphasis on astrology. It talks about zodiac signs. I mean, that right there is a whole nother, it's almost a whole nother conversation, not even dealing with Christianity, just the claims that it makes about how Christianity is based on zodiac signs and astrology, right? That, I mean, that just was odd to me. Do you remember much of that part? Because it sort of glossed over it, but it was right at the very beginning.
Yeah, it kind of zips right past it. But I mean, I think it was just part of the I want to throw a bunch of stuff at you.
Yeah.
Tactic. So they needed some kind of filler. So I think that was something that, like, it's most people know something about zodiac type stuff, so they thought, well, this will be easy filler because a lot of people already they're going to be pulled in by this.
Yeah.
I think that's where that came from. Something that the film did get correct is the reason that one of the reasons that Easter or the Resurrection Day is chosen on the calendar, and that's why it moves around, because people get confused. Why does it move around? It's because there is a day in spring where the sun kind of does a weird thing, that it's the then sun, where as it seems to go down for about 45 minutes to an hour, it kind of seem to hop back up and then continue to descend. So that part is correct, but that's been in science,
right,
been in the almanacs for a long time. So that was kind of an easy pull. I mean, So there was no denying that. That one's fact. But I got something else that I want to bring up to you for it, but I know you had a couple points that you want to finish up with there.
Let me do these last two and then bring it up. I want to hear it. Number 4, the movie treats speculation like settled history. We already talked about this. Dr. David's broader work really emphasizes that real ancient history takes context, evidence, caution, and nuance. Does not take shortcuts. It does not deal in pseudo-historical certainty. That is the exact opposite of what Zeitgeist does when it jumps from symbolic similarities to massive conclusions about where Christianity came from. This movie is not just making arguments, it's making it sound settled. And the fact is, it's absolutely not settled, and not even close to settled in the way they say it. Again, fringe. That's what this whole thing is. So the last one is, well, I want to say this too. We have to, as Christians, we have to understand when we're confronted with anybody that's trying to say, I have an opposing view to what you're saying about Christianity or what the Bible says about Christianity, that there's two things that we have to employ. And one of those we employ very easily, and that's the spiritual aspect of it. Like, okay, I'm going to pray about it. Okay, I'm going to, I think that this is what the Spirit's telling me, or, even sometimes emotionally it gets involved. But one of the things that we feel like, I think as Christians, that we can't do is intellectually engage to say, okay, this stuff does not sound sensible, logical, reasonable. And it definitely needs to be checked up on, because they're so wild and outlandish in these claims. Like, you can make some claims that it's a stretch for me, but if you want to say that, some of the Gospels were written 300 years later and Jesus was injected into history, okay, I can definitely get down with that conversation, though I don't agree at all, but I can get down with that conversation to think that there may be some kind of evidence you have to argue that. But this one is just, again, pulling things out of thin air. I mean, even its own historical evidence and records for Egyptian, what do we call it? Egyptian legendary, I guess, or mythology, whatever. It doesn't even support that, So there's something here that we have to make sure we're understanding, like being able to recognize the Spirit helps us discern good information, bad information, truth, lies, right, wrong. So discernment is huge when it comes to us taking on some kind of new claim and saying, oh, okay, yeah, I get that. That makes sense. Now I've got doubts, right? Now I'm going to deconstruct because this all sounds like this person's confident and thinks that they are telling me something that is true. So we have to be careful with that. Holy Spirit will never lead us astray. And then the last rebuttal, the Jesus never existed claim is fringe, not mainstream. We briefly touched on this, but I'm going to touch on a little bit more. The Christ myth theory, and this is for anybody out there who, I think some people, honestly, Christian or non-Christians out there, agnostics, atheists, naturalists, secularists, whatever you want to be called, you don't believe in Jesus, you don't believe in even maybe God, maybe you believe in something up there. But to make the claim that Jesus does not exist is a bold claim in light of the evidence. The idea that Jesus never even existed as a real historical person is widely viewed as fringe. So you would be in the fringe. It's like you believe the world is flat. You are in the fringe. That's the camp you are now in. Even broad summaries of the field make it clear that mythicism has little to no real support in mainstream scholarship, yet Zeitgeist presents it as a fringe idea like it is settled fact. Main challenges: mainstream scholarship does not treat Jesus' existence like some open question that serious historians are still wrestling with. Peter Joseph presents mythicism like it is the informed and uneducated conclusion. But that is not where the broader scholarly field is. Broad summaries of the subject make it clear that Jesus' mythicism, meaning Jesus doesn't exist, he's just a myth, sits on the fringe, while the general consensus of Jesus of Nazareth was a real first century Jewish man. And I think if a lot of people would actually say, okay, I agree, I believe Jesus was a real historical person in history, in time, that may lead some people to really start to consider, maybe I should think about some of his claims and what he said and should investigate Jesus a little bit more. Paul's letters make far more sense if Jesus was a real historical person and not some invented myth. Paul's undisputed letters are some of the earliest Christian sources we have, written within just a few decades of Jesus' death. And as Bart Ehrman points out, Paul speaks of Jesus as a real person in history, not just some vague heavenly figure or symbolic myth that really undercuts one of the common mythicist claims that the earliest Christians only believed in some distant celestial being and not in a recent historical man. Also, there are also non-Christian sources that fit with the existence of Jesus and the rise of the early Christian movement. You got Tacitus refers to Christus being executed under Pontius Pilate. Tacitus was actually pretty critical of Christians, by the way. You got Josephus also mentions Jesus a Jew, not a Christian, including the widely accepted reference to James as, quote, the brother of Jesus, who was called Christ, unquote. Why would somebody, a Jew of all people, just throw out there that this guy Jesus had a brother named James?
Yeah. Why would he call him Messiah? Yeah.
Yeah. Why would he call him, right, Christ being the Messiah?
Yeah. Christ means Messiah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Real quick, I have to mention this.
Yeah.
Thank you to Colty86 for the $1 dono. That was really, really great of you. And
oh yeah, thank you, sir, or ma'am, or Colty86. How about we just do that?
Colty's a sir. Yeah, but for any of you moving forward, just so you know, if you donate $1 or more, and then you immediately follow that comment or dono up with dancing bananas in the Rumble chat. I can't guarantee Danny will do it, but I'll definitely do it. For every $1 you donate, that guarantees 1 second per dollar that I have to dance a little bit on camera for you. And
dude, I'll dance. I don't know, but this is my first live, so you tell me. I got to do a banana dance.
Yeah, we call it going bananas for Jesus. So usually just a little bit of this, maybe standing up for the camera, but just whatever we can do to entertain you guys. So if hey, I know that there's a few of you that are familiar, like CFAM when she comes in here, and Steve when he drops in. Steve dropped $50 one day. I had to dance for almost a minute. They get my cardio and we're reading the Bible.
They're just doing it to see you dance. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Bananas for Jesus, baby.
Bananas for Jesus.
There he goes. Now he's dropped $5. So that's 6 seconds. He's just got to follow that up with some dancing banana emojis. And there we go. Okay, there you go.
There you go, Colty.
You got to dance.
Nice. Baby. Oh, wait. Oh, is that what we're doing right here?
Bananas for Jesus right now.
All right. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I stop when you stop, brother.
And there is the 6 seconds.
Oh, man.
Worth every penny, Colty.
That's awesome. That's awesome, bro. I love it. Oh, man. Okay. Well, maybe we'll have to do some more banana dancing here in a little bit. Let's keep going. Many scholars also believe the more well-known passage in Antiquities has at least a partial authentic core to it. None of that proves every single detail in the Gospels, but it absolutely pushes back on the idea that Jesus was just invented out of nowhere. All right, another point here. Mythicism often leans on arguments from silence and distorted comparisons. And that is one of the big reasons it is treated as weak scholarship. Josh, something I noticed with people that like to add some kind of new truth claim to the Bible, do it from an argument from silence. And they don't even realize that's a logical fallacy. Like, it doesn't say it, so it must be okay, or it must ban it. It goes both ways, right? Mm-hmm. Because it doesn't say it, it's either okay or it's not okay. And you're making a truth claim based on something that's not even in the text. Okay, that can get real dangerous. Like, we can make inferences from a collection of the context, right, surrounding the passage. But if you're listening out there and you want to say, well, okay, does it talk about nuclear bombs in the Bible? So nuclear bombs must be bad, okay, or nuclear bombs must be good, whichever. Well, okay, we can have that conversation about nuclear bombs and whether they're good or bad, but we can't use the Bible to say whether they're good or bad unless there's something else surrounding this idea of the destruction of an entire city, okay? And there's conversation for that, but we can't just inject words that aren't there. The Trinity, it doesn't exist because it's not in the Bible. That's a great example of inferring something, saying it's not there because it's not spoken of, because the Bible's silent on it. There's plenty of scripture that talks and tells us about the doctrine of the Trinity. We just gave it a name. That's all we did, because it was recognized, obviously, that God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit are all divine and all three persons all in one. Okay, that's a whole nother conversation. We actually talked about that on table 42. Maybe me and Josh will get into that another time.
It also says the Bible also says there is no God. If you pull it out of context, because in context it says the fool says.
There is no God. Yeah.
Well,
yeah. We're really going to just pinpoint, right? Yeah. There is no God. No, yeah, but the fool says that. Let's see. Okay. The real historical debate is much narrower than Peter Joseph makes it sound. Historians do debate things like which sayings go back to Jesus, how certain gospel traditions should be understood, and what details can be established with confidence. But that is a completely different issue from saying Jesus never existed at all. And that is the claim the Zeitgeist movie makes. Even broad mainstream summaries make it clear that while plenty of details about Jesus' life are still discussed and debated, his existence is generally accepted, and his crucifixion under Pilate is one of the most widely accepted facts about him historically. And we now know from archaeology, from archaeological finds, that Pilate existed, that he actually was the prefect during that time in that area of Judea. So basically, Peter Joseph he's not just floating some bold alternative theory out there. He is taking something fringe and saying, nope, this is pretty much settled fact. And we have to ask the question, did Jesus exist? And if he did, there's other questions that follow that. Who was he? What do we do with the claims made about him? But mythicism says, you know what? Let's just dodge all that, and let's just basically erase the guy and turn him into a myth, and just leave it at that. And let's not even look at all the evidence. So, the thing that I want to sort of dive into a little bit is going to be, why have people fallen for this, right? And what about Christians too that are falling for this? Because there are some that are falling away. Now, you can argue whether or not they're Christians or not, depending. I can see a Christian that is not reading their Bible, not in prayer, not in fellowship with other believers, not going to a church regularly, getting good teaching, getting poor teaching, even fall for this. I can see that. I can also see people that say, yeah, I'm a Christian, but really never were either, right? But let's talk about the non-believer first. This movie gives people a kind of emotional payoff. It makes them feel like they have broken free from the manipulation, because church hurt's a real thing, right? Mm-hmm. And whether it's been to you or to somebody you know or somebody that you've heard of, okay, church hurt's a real thing. So that allows them to say, oh, good, finally, I can break free from that manipulation, right? I see through the lie, like you're some enlightened person all of a sudden, and you see through the lie. It's persuasive enough to lead somebody to that. It builds distrust towards institutions, and a lot of people these days have distrust for institutions, right? Especially the church. I mean, the church has got to be right up there with lawyers, politicians, government. You know what I mean? Is up there with them.
Unfortunately, but yes.
Yes, it's unfortunate, and I would say we have a lot of blame for that as well. It sets people up to view rebuttals as just more proof that the system is hiding the truth. So non-believers fall for this because it is tailor-made for modern suspicion. It flattens or flatters the viewer, and it says you are not gullible like those Christians. You are awake now. You see what the masses do not see, and that's really fringe. The fringe approach. Those that are on the fringe are trying to get their adherents to say, yeah, look, you no longer wear the blinders. You are now, what we say these days, it's not so much fringe, but you're woke now, right? You woken up, like your eyes, the scales have been lifted from your eyes, to metaphorically speak, right? And sometimes that can be so intoxicating for an individual. Mm-hmm. And it can lead to a lot of dangerous, thoughts and beliefs after that, right? So if somebody already has an issue with organized religion or authority, they have a deal with, they see only hypocrisy in the church, or they just, I can't even believe that the supernatural even exists, right? Then this is perfect for them. Zeitgeist it's ready-made, it's intellectual sounding. They can dismiss Christianity and not bat an eye at it. So it's almost like you're getting some kind of emotional reward. Like, I just won the participation trophy. That's an emotional reward for being a skeptic. There you go. That is exactly. So why would some Christians fall for it? I think that's a real key thing to sort of understand. Some Christians are just flat out vulnerable, right? Their faith, they may be sincere, but it's not deeply grounded, like I just said. Someone's never really been taught how to evaluate sources, compare claims, or tell the difference between real scholarship and internet mythology. Then a polished attack like this can rattle them. That's just in a nutshell called discernment. Discernment goes a long way with the Holy Spirit, because even you ever heard like he's wise beyond his years, right?
Mhm.
I say that about some Christians that I know because they're younger, but they're like mentors to me. One of my good friends and pastor, Steve, he's younger than me, but he helped me with the wisdom that he had. He didn't go through what I went through, but he helped me because he had wisdom beyond his years, because the Holy Spirit gave him the right words to say to guide me through what I needed to get through. He was younger than me and had not gone through the experiences I had gone through. Doesn't mean that just because you don't have the experiences that you can't help somebody. Holy Spirit gives you the discernment to be able to walk somebody through something that maybe nobody else can, and you're the only one that can do that, but you don't feel equipped because like, I've never experienced that, right? And so for Christians, we really don't tap into the Holy Spirit like we should. He's in us, but we don't take advantage of that. And we don't ask for wisdom and discernment when we are going through life most of the time. I know I didn't for a long time. So if we're looking at, if stuff like this is being thrown at us and we're not grounded and we don't know how to practice discernment and wisdom, we don't know how to investigate things, we haven't even really investigated our own scriptures, then it's like that saying, right? Stand for nothing, you fall for anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the situation here. Some Christians fall for this, not because Christianity is weak, but because discipleship has too often been weak. And that's a big thing why we do Table 42, is because we want people to dig into the Word and find all these amazing nuggets. I know you do that with FFP, right? The Morning Word. Like there's all these amazing nuggets in God's Word that aren't hidden necessarily. We're there to dig. And when we dig, we reveal these truths, right? We don't create them. They get revealed to us. And when we see something like that, we get closer to God. Then the Holy Spirit really tells us, hey, you know that thing that you just watched called the Zeitgeist? Yeah. Remember all those red flags that went flying up? That was me telling you that you need to be careful and be aware of some of the claims that are in that they're not actually accurate or true. If your faith has mainly been fed on things like slogans or emotion, borrowed confidence from other people, then this movie could wreck you.
Yeah.
It could destroy your faith, right? It would be what I'd say could bring a person to a crisis of faith. And if you're not properly grounded, we all have crisis of faith. Hopefully we have them in our more mature states, and then they get less and less and less because we're really rooted and grounded in our faith. But when those come, if we're not, and I see a lot of young adults, ages 18 to 24, they're hitting more crisis of faith now than ever, and they're walking away from the Lord more now than ever. Even though we're seeing somewhat of a little revival and a little bit of a turn back to scriptures and things like that.
Yeah, a lot of them going back to the traditional church. That's what Gen Z is doing, but I don't know how long it's going to last. But that's what you're seeing. A lot of Gen Z is like going back to the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church. But outside of that, you're not seeing a whole lot of Protestants popping up.
Right. Yeah. That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. All right. So why content like this matters? The kind of content is not just attacking facts. It's shaping people emotionally. It creates suspicion towards truth claims, historical claims, and ultimately toward the gospel itself. The challenge of a movie like this is not just evidential. It's psychological, deeply psychological. Like I said earlier, psyop. It's not just misinformation is not the only danger here. It's actually formation. And I think it's misinformation when you hear it and you sort of take it in and you process it, but it doesn't really become formation until it starts to actually become a worldview for you. And I think that's the very dangerous thing about this Zeitgeist movie is like, I really think that might have been just, this is for entertainment purposes. And now it's turned into a movement. He creates a website off of it. Now he's got another movie coming out with it. And I mean, even what was it, 2007 when it first, or 2008, I think 7 or 8 when it first came out.
7, yeah.
Right. Okay. And when it came out in 2007, I mean, look how far we are with our social media and online presence and the amount of information, that's almost 20 years ago, right? I mean, we're 26, 27 years ago, or 17 years ago.
We're 2007. That's
Sorry,
20 years ago. Yeah,
20 years ago. Yeah, it is 20. So it's 19 years. Yeah. So 19 years ago, where we're at in the amount of okay. So if it got what did I say? 500 million views. Ultimately, they say. Think about what it would get these days, right? I mean, there was no YouTube. If it was, it wasn't very popular. It was on Google Video that it got 50 million views. So, I mean, you can imagine now that hopefully people wised up with this whole zeitgeist thing and just, I'm going to watch it just because it's entertaining to me. And I think it's just absolutely dumb, but I think dumb is funny. But it's going to possibly reach even more people this time. And if you got people that are really diving into it or just say, hey, we want to do everything we can to push people away from Christianity, then there's going to be some financial backers that are probably going to get involved in this. And they're going to put some serious money behind it and really try to do something with it. So, I mean, again, I'm not heard of a launch date for this year, but I know they said this year. Look, if you are a non-believer, do not let a documentary do your thinking for you. Mm-hmm. I mean, how silly does that sound? I watched a documentary. Now it does all of my thinking for me. I look at everything through a conspiracy lens. I'm not going to trust anything out there because it just can't be trusted for whatever reasons. Because really, honestly, that's when you get into trap. Look, I've got a couple of my own conspiracy theories. I'm not saying I don't. But when you get trapped in this roller coaster world of conspiracy theorism, you end up looking at everything with skepticism. Everything. Nothing seems. It's almost like I had a student come in today. What did he say? We're all living in a simulation. Yeah, that's what he said.
Okay, yeah.
He's like, we're all living in a simulation, right? And honestly, I mean, I think like when Matrix came out, that was pretty wild. And we're all just, I know after I watched the first Matrix, I'm just sort of sitting back going, am I asleep in a capsule somewhere right now with a bunch of robots just monitoring me and I'm in a fake world? It really starts to do a little
number,
a mind job on you. So yeah, don't confuse editing with evidence. Don't confuse confidence with credibility. Do not confuse emotional impact with truth. If Christianity is false, then it should be able to stand up to honest examination. But if Christ is who he claimed to be, then rejecting him because of bad history packaged in a dramatic film is not careful skepticism. It is intellectual carelessness. If you're going to reject Jesus Christ, okay, then reject the real Jesus after real study. Do like Josh McDowell. Do like J. Warner Wallace. Do like, let's see, who else? Who else can you think of? There was somebody else that's Lee Strobel. Okay, these guys wanted to objectively reject Jesus, not just subjectively, meaning they went and did the work, the study, the research. They dove into it. Lee Strobel tried to disprove the resurrection, and all three of them turned to Christ. All three of them. Why? Because they went objectively to say, I don't believe in it. Lee Strobel wanted to prove it wrong so he could turn his wife away from Jesus because she became a Christian. And when he went at it and tried to do an honest study of Jesus, he actually came to Christ. But if you do an honest study and you still don't, then at least you did an honest study. Okay.
Well, that's the greatest thing about the truth is it can stand all your questioning. So when if you do come at it from a conspiracy theorist standpoint and you're skeptical going in, 9 times out of 10, if not somehow more,
right,
you might come out a believer.
Yeah. So, don't reject Jesus because of a movie called Zeitgeist. Let's start there. I also want to give a little warning and a little encouragement to my Christian brothers and sisters out there. Satan and the world are more than happy to emotionally steer us away from our purpose of worship and obedience to Christ. That is all he wants to do. He wants to constantly distract us. He wants to constantly turn our eyes away from him. He's always doing anything and everything he can to distract us. He knows that Jesus has us. He knows that. But if he can just defer our eyes over to here just for a little bit, then we miss out on what maybe could have been a very impactful moment for the kingdom of God, right? The enemy does not always come through what is obviously evil. A lot of times he comes through confusion, distortion, half-truths, polished deception. But let this be an encouragement to you. Christianity is not fragile. Just like Josh said, I think that's great, Josh. The truth stands.
Mhm.
It always stands. Always. Doesn't mean you're not going to be persecuted for it. Doesn't mean you're not going to have possibly some rough times. Doesn't mean that you're not going to have some doubts that you need to struggle, wrestle with, right? As you're walking through your life of sanctification, in other words, your journey to become more like Christ, okay? But it's not fragile. The gospel is not threatened by any sort of investigation, and Jesus Christ does not need to hide from any kind of scrutiny. God says to check everything, verify everything, go after it. Look, come check me out. Like, you want to prove me wrong, then try, so don't panic when you have these kinds of claims coming at you. Don't be intimidated. Don't mistake the loudness of something for truth and the volume of the amount of something, right? Just because it's loud and just because it's a lot and just because it's confident doesn't mean it's truth, does it? At all. I'm sure Satan feels pretty confident and when he's trying to tempt somebody, but he knows he's lost. I mean, he knows, right? So stand firm.
Nothing to lose.
No, nothing to lose for him. So I encourage you, stand firm, learn, study, ask questions, ask a lot of questions, pray for wisdom and discernment. Remember that our calling is not just to avoid deception. Also, it's to love truth, worship God, obey Christ with confidence, and tell others about him. Okay. The answer to deception is not fear. It is truth, maturity, and steady faith in Christ, for sure. You know what, Josh? I mean, you said so much in there. I think you answered a lot of the questions I was going to ask you. So you know what I want to do, man? I want to jump on this thing that just happened recently, brother.
Well, real quick, because I want
Go ahead.
this is the point I want to do. So what I'm going to do right now is a little exercise. I want to do a little exercise. So the sharpshooting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let's take a look at the image of the movie we've been discussing. What does that look like around the planet Earth?
I'm going to be honest with you. When I first saw it, I thought it was the Death Star incomplete. But it looks like a cage to me.
A cage, yeah. So like the prison planet, right?
Yeah.
Well, so it would lead you to believe that this the author of this movie, the person, the director, the creator of this movie, if you will, believes in prison planet theory. And also, it's kind of in effect mentioned during the movie that this esoteric knowledge that's been lost, and it's been lost repeatedly. So that means that they probably most likely believe in the reincarnation, and every time you die, this information is lost and then recycled, and so remembering is the problem, right?
Right.
And so that's the point of the front end of this movie is remembering the esoteric knowledge that you lost. So now you can break free from the chains, right? Now you can break free from the chains.
Right. Yeah.
So you're a spiritual being who has this ancient knowledge. You don't understand why, and you keep being recycled through this planet that's a prison, and you have no understanding why. And it's all controlled by, likely, if you look in the larger picture of the prison planet theory, aliens who planted us here, and during a war between, which is really, this is where it gets really fringe and crazy. But stick with me here, because this is what the things are for the prison planet theory: is that the reptilians had this as an outpost. Humans were used as a labor force, and so that's why they keep being erased every time they go back through the system, so to speak, on this prison planet. And the Greys won, but they have not made it this far.
Right.
A few crash landings, but never made it this far, and we've never been able to break those chains. So remembering is always the problem, and that's why you'll see so many instances where reptilians that are still on Earth supposedly are stopping these people that remember and keep trying to out this truth. And then you go back and you look at the core tenets of Scientology. Let me pull that up real quick, because here's where that's going to get real interesting real quick. Ron L. Hubbard, as you know about Scientology, you do.
Yep.
The folks up there, if you have no idea who Ron L. Hubbard was,
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is in there, and what's his name?
John Travolta.
John Travolta, yeah. As well. Those are the celebrities. But they believe that all human beings are thetans, they're spiritual beings, brought here by extraterrestrial life, and they're trapped here on this prison planet in a physical body, forgotten their true nature, esoteric knowledge, and need to achieve clear status through auditing to remove negative traumas or engrams. So they need to remember by clearing everything else out. So it seems like they believe in Scientology more than all the other things that they tried to prove.
Right. Yeah.
Most of what I just said was bull.
Yeah.
Most of what I just claimed about that movie was bull. And it didn't actually state most of it.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But I said it so fast, confidently, and fed you a lot of facts in a short amount of time that you might go, maybe there is. I'm sure there's at least two people that were like, Josh has got something here. That's sharpshooter.
Yeah.
Made a lot of claims really fast. And like I said, maybe even made a couple believers out there of what making that connection to the film, even though you haven't seen it. Or if you have seen it, you're like, whoa, I forgot that part. No, you didn't forget that part. That part didn't exist. There is a mention, because I can hinge it on one little fact, because there is a mention of esoteric knowledge and it being forgotten. It's quickly skimmed over. It's in the film. That's it. Everything else I just said, total baloney.
Yeah.
That's what the film did.
Yeah.
That first third of the movie.
Yeah. You just taught me something, because I've never heard of prison planet theory, and I just did a quick search on this, and you know what, it makes total sense, but it's sort of interesting that this is basically a new wrapping for Gnosticism. And that I was looking, like it says the roots go back to Gnosticism, and if you don't know what Gnosticism is, it's not, so it never organized as an actual religion. It just sort of moved throughout in various periods, and it would pop up and grow a little bit, and it would die off, and it would grow a little bit more. Like, they were dealing with it during Paul's day. Even when you hear some of what Paul says about listening to these other various gospels and ideas about who Jesus is and things like that, that was Gnosticism that he was battling. And also it was was the Judaism. I can't think of it right now off the top of my head.
I think I know what you're thinking about, but I cannot think of the name of it either.
Yeah, it's a type of Judaism that was happening at that time too. But like Gnosticism, it's roughly from 1st and 3rd centuries, and it blended things like Greek philosophy, Jewish ideas, and like Christian language. And so there was like several books that were written by Gnostics. And so this sounds like, looking at this, it's interesting. So it says roots go back to Gnosticism, then get remixed with modern conspiracy and sci-fi, like you're saying. A flawed creator called the demiurge makes the material world. Spiritual entities called archons keep humans deceived. Humans have a divine spark trapped in physical bodies. Salvation comes through secret knowledge, gnosis, that frees you. So it says today's versions layers in newer ideas: reincarnation loop, light at the end of the tunnel, non-human entities like aliens and interdimensional beings are running the system, like you said. Humans are used as energy sources, so it's like sort of matrixy type deal going on there. Sometimes called loosh. These words, man. Reality is like a simulation or form. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think they're coming up with these words on their own. I think a lot of this is demonic.
Oh yeah.
I think they come up with these names because there's demons out there that might be called some of these names in their own little spiritual world. But yeah, that's sort of what it seems like. There was something.
Prison Planet Theory is just Scientology reskinned, is what it is.
Yes, yeah. And Scientology again is Gnosticism. But you know what else it reminds me of? If you didn't know this, so Mormons believe in a pre-existence for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they forget who they are when they come into their mortal existence.
Mm-hmm.
So is that something that could possibly be demonic? And look, I got some Mormon friends. I'm sorry. Yeah, I just disagree completely with your entire religion. And we can have that conversation. I have no problem discussing it. But yeah, I mean, you're looking at some common threads with some pretty fringe type of faiths or religions out there, cults. And there's some common things between all of them that we see. You can do that with a lot of the world religions out there and see a lot of commonalities, but I'm not going to do like Zeitgeist and start to make stretches and stuff. So I'm not going to do that.
No, I just wanted to make that point real quick.
No, that's good. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And I think it kind of brought what you were doing home a little bit.
Yeah.
Point out just how outlandish the film was. And to reveal it that immediate too, to say, okay, actually everything I just said was, I think of Joe Pesci. Everything that guy just said was, that was what I was doing.
Yeah. Oh, Joe. All right. Well, we are going to shift a little bit more into some more today, current event stuff that's happening. Something actually just happened in the last 24 hours, I do believe. At the very least, yesterday I heard about this. So the SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center, it's a more or less a left-wing organization. They do root out some pretty radical, racist, probably close fringe domestic terrorist groups, but they also are pretty broad in their labeling of various things. And we're going to go through the website here in a little bit, just sort of point out some of the things that they are all about. But first, this is what happened. The DOJ brought an indictment to them. And so according to multiple reports, 11 criminal counts, including wire fraud, bank fraud, false statements, conspiracy to commit money laundering. Core allegation was that the SPLC allegedly funneled $3 million plus between 2014 and 2023 to individuals inside extremist groups like the KKK, neo-Nazis, etc. So the group that's fighting or saying they're fighting those groups are funneling millions of dollars to those groups.
Yeah, it goes actually one step further. They had several hundred shell companies they were funneling the money through, and then the money was actually going to not only the very, 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 very few racist groups out there that are out there to pay them to go, but then there were also actors and people who were like. I don't know if you remember Charlottesville, where the guys was in the khakis and like the polos.
Unite the Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You look at those guys as like, those look like federal agents. Those do not look like. I've seen a lot of racists in my lifetime. Yeah. They are bigger than me. They are slack jawed. I go, hey, I don't like them other people. It doesn't look like me. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what they. They don't look like that. They're not muscles. They're not in khakis. They would never wear khakis, as a matter of fact.
Right. Yeah. You're right. They were. That's where the money laundering, bank fraud stuff is coming in. Mm-hmm. They said that the key issue isn't just the payments. By the way, it's how they were presented. Prosecutors say the SPLC misled donors and banks about what the money was used for. Some funds were allegedly routed through shell and fake entities. I want to read this article from Washington Post. DOJ charges Southern Poverty Law Center overpaid informants. Now, that's the title. And let me go ahead and give you what the rebuttal for the SPLC was. Well, first of all, the DOJ's argument was they weren't just infiltrating groups, and you'll understand what that means here in a minute. they may have financially supported or even amplified extremism. So the SPLC pushed back on this, saying they admit using paid informants, but say it was for intelligence gathering to prevent violence and protect lives. And their stance is this is a standard undercover method used historically by law enforcement. By the way, they're not a law enforcement organization.
Nope.
And the charges are politically motivated, of course, right? Because when Trump decides that he is going, or not the Trump, but the DOJ decides that they're going to go after them, it's politically charged. But when the other side is using the DOJ to go after Trump, it's not politically charged. The double standard is ridiculous. So, but I want to read this Washington Post article. The Justice Department on Tuesday accused the Southern Poverty Law Center, by the way, this is the Washington Post, so keep that in mind, a storied civil rights organization, that's how you know it's the Washington Post, of defrauding donors and stoking racial hatred through payments it made to informants working for a variety of hate groups. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche announced that a grand jury in Montgomery, Alabama, returned an 11-count indictment against the nonprofit, charging it with bank fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering. The SPLC's chief denounced the investigation as an effort to weaponize the Justice Department against groups unfriendly to President Donald Trump. I mean, not like they ever did that themselves, but I digress. We are outraged by the false allegations levied against the SPLC, an organization that for 55 years has stood as a beacon of hope, fighting white supremacy and various forms of injustice to create a multiracial democracy where we can all live and thrive. Interim President CEO Brian Fair said in a statement, taking on violent hate and extremist groups is among the most dangerous work there is. And we believe it is also among the most important work we do. To be clear, this program saved lives. Speaking at a news conference in Washington, Blanche said the SPLC paid more than $3 million between 2014 and 2023 to at least 8 individuals. Now, hear what I just said. More than $3 million to 8 individuals for undercover work. I don't know of any law enforcement agency that is giving up that much money for undercover work. I mean, I'm not saying it's cheap, but still, that is insane.
More than a few $1,000s is beyond.
So these individuals were working apparently inside of such groups such as the KKK, Ku Klux Klan, and the National Socialist Movement. In some instances, Blanche said the source of the money was disguised through accounts associated with fictitious businesses. Now, if you're on the up and up, why you got to create shell companies and businesses that don't even have employees and have never done any kind of service? Why are you funneling money through those things to pay off your informants? It was doing the exact opposite of what it told its donors it was doing, not dismantling extremism, but funding it. He declined to comment on the origins of the Justice Department's investigation, but said it began during a previous administration and was later closed during Joe Biden's presidency. Of course it was. So The Guardian has its own little spin on it. Todd Blanche announces 11-count indictment over payments to informants in extremist groups, including KKK. Southern Poverty Law Center, the prominent civil rights organization, has been indicted on federal fraud charges related to past payments and made to confidential informants to infiltrate extremist groups, including the Ku Klux Klan, the Justice Department has announced. It brings up the whole Brian Fair comment about it being false and politically motivated. His remarks, Blanche alleged the group was doing the exact opposite of what was told its donors were doing. Blanche was joined by the FBI Director Kash Patel, who called the paid informant program a serious and egregious violation of a group that purported to dismantle violent extremist groups, but in turn actually only fueled the hatred. According to the prosecutors, the SPLC covertly funneled more than $3 billion to confidential sources within extremist groups between 2014 and 2023. The indictment lays out a number of fictitious entities with names such as Center Investigative Agency, Fox Photography, Tech Writers Group, which prosecutors say were created to conceal the transfer of funds to confidential sources. They accuse officials at the SPLC of lying to donors when they told them their money would be used to, quote-unquote, dismantle violent extremist groups, when it was allegedly being used to pay leaders in the violent groups. It would be hard for me to imagine that leaders in the groups would be informants. Prosecutors say the organization also lied to banks about who owned the entities. Why would you lie to the banks? A lot of this stuff just doesn't make sense. It was very odd to charge a corporate entity with these crimes, said Andrew Tessman, a former federal prosecutor who handled financial fraud cases. So there is some doubt on how they're going to be able to prove wire fraud. There's doubt on how they're going to be able to prove their case at trial. But I just think, honestly, the SPLC has a really are at a disadvantage here and may lose quite a few donors that some, I'm not going to lie, probably given the money to do some of these things. Others, probably not, and really are going to struggle to trust the SPLC when, I mean, look, if it's $100,000, $200,000, that's a lot less money for informants over almost 10 years. But that's not what it was. 8 individuals, $3 million over the course of that time. So one of the things I want to do here is look at the SPLC. If you don't know who they are, I'll dig into that right now. The Southern Poverty Law Center, this is from their website, stands as a beacon of hope, fighting white supremacy and various forms of injustice to help create a multiracial democracy where we can all live and thrive. Today calls for us to maintain our resolve in the face of another fight for justice. Now, I will give them this. Now, they want to say that they're fighting white supremacy, but they do have a few groups that are anti-white that they have identified as problem groups. Okay. If you go to their find resources and then go to extremist files, they have a map actually of places where they have identified.
If you have the website currently, well, I guess you can't do it through the laptop, but if you could direct me, I can pull up that website as you're talking.
So if you go to splccenter.org, and then when you get there, actually pull up the map first.
Ooh, it's going all over the place. Let me get to there we go. Now I've got it pulled up. All right. Now I'm on the home page. All right. And then.
Yeah, right there. The middle one.
Okay.
And then click on that map right there. There you go. So those are all of the ideologies, organizations, groups, and individuals that they have identified as being either anti-government or hate group of some sort. If you go to Florida, I looked at this one earlier. Now, when you click on it, and off to the side, you'll click on it again. Just click off. Don't click on one of the circles. Yeah, just click on that. Click on the state itself.
Oh, the state itself.
Yeah, there you go. Now, if you look off to the right, you can look down. You're going to see quite a few organizations over there, and it'll be listed as anti-immigrant, anti-LGBTQ, you'll see anti-government, anti-Muslim, anti-government in general. Okay, so you're going to see definitely several of those. As you scroll down, you're going to see an organization that I know for a fact, Moms for Liberty. This is one that has chapters all over the country. They're almost like TPUSA. If you click on Moms for Liberty, you go to the website. Moms for Liberty was an organization that wanted to push back on LGBTQ and materials that were being presented to students, kids in elementary through high school. Pornographic material. This is where the left is telling everybody that Republicans want to ban books when that is not the case. Republicans could care less if these books are in actual libraries in an adult section. Okay, that's fine if you want to carry that. But these books are in libraries. And so this Moms for Liberty actually started to form and fight against this. And they got chapters all over the country. Yeah. They're just moms. They're not terrorists. They're not people that are really anti-government. They're definitely not anti-government. They're just pushing back against a narrative and an ideology that the left doesn't agree with, that the SPLC does not agree with. Have you
I know
heard
a
of
few of
Moms for
them.
Liberty?
Yeah, I know a few of them personally, and the Indiana chapters, Tennessee chapters.
Yep.
Got friends in both states, and but they're just, like you said, they're just moms. Like, I mean, and any other day when they're out, not in the capacity of, just trying to expose the awful things that they're trying to expose.
Right.
They're just packing the lunches and taking care of their kids,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe their kids are a little bit older and they're already out of the home, but they're still a mom, and they want to take care of the younger kids, that for the younger moms that are raising their kids up, say, okay, let's fight this fight, because the young kids don't need to be exposed to this stuff. So yeah, they're just moms. They really are.
Yeah. And there's quite a few. Now there are some bad ones. There's like some KKK groups, some Aryan groups, right? There's a new Black Panther group. Okay, so they're not completely only anti-white or anti or against white supremacy type deal. But if you go to find resources again for me, Josh, go to Extremist Files. It's under Tracking Hate. So back up to the top. Yeah, get out of that.
Go back here. Okay, there we go. Back into the map, or
no? Don't go to the map. Go to the middle where it says Tracking Hate, and go to Extremist Files.
Oh, almost had it. There we go.
There you go. Now, when you scroll down a little bit, you'll see it says all, and then they'll have ideologies, extremists, and groups. Click on the extremists there for me. Now, I'm not a fan of Alex Jones. I'm not a fan of Tucker Carlson, but they're both on this list.
Oh my, and Andrew Tate.
And yeah, I'm definitely not a fan of Andrew Tate, but yeah, he's on the list. But somebody I am a fan of is Matt Walsh, and he is on this list. And why? Because he speaks out highly against transgenderism. He speaks out highly against a lot of the things that are coming after our kids, and that has got him on this list.
It was a TikTok, yeah.
And he came out with What Is a Woman, which was a great little entertaining documentary. And then if you go back to all, click on all at the top over there. This one really blows my mind. And there's two of them on this page, I think. Well, at least the second one down. When you get to the second one down, you got Focus on the Family. Focus on the Family. That is one of the best shows we used to listen to on radio for a long time. I cannot remember the founder of Focus on the Family. He's passed away now. But because they stand on Christian, see, it's not that they're anti-LGBTQ. They're against the lifestyle, consider it a sin, just like any Christian who is a Bible-believing, Bible-studying, Jesus-loving Christian. Okay, not the ones that are progressive, not the ones who say love is love, and Jesus never judges, and Jesus would be what was it that I heard? God is non-binary by that James Tallarico guy.
Yeah.
Just like, what in the world? Yeah. Seriously. If you scroll down and at the bottom, another one, PragerU, Dennis Prager, not a Christian, a Jew, but an amazing guy that is just wanting to help people have some common sense when it comes to these various things coming at us, this far right, far left, LGBTQ, Black Lives Matter, like all the things that have been out there that just seem to be emotionally charged and try to sway people right or left, right, one way or the other. There's a lot of Christian content on PragerU, and that's the thing. That's the thing. Now, I haven't gone through a lot of these, but there are quite a few groups, ideologies. Let's go to the ideologies for me. Click on that one. Because I honestly did not look that one through a whole lot. And I'm curious to see what they have. Anti-government general. If you click on anti-government general. So anti-government groups are part of the anti-democratic hard right movement. They believe the federal government is tyrannical, and they traffic in conspiracy theories about an illegitimate government of leftist elites seeking a new world order. In addition to groups that generally espouse these ideas, the movement is composed of sovereign citizens, militias, overt conspiracy propagandists, and constitutional sheriff groups. In the past, this movement was referred to as the Patriot Movement by adherents and critics. The Moms of Liberty is in this category. Crazy, right? Up at the top, related. PragerU in this category. It's crazy. You got dominionism and Christian supremacy. And guys, when you hear Christian nationalism, just take the word nationalism off. They're talking about Christians. They have now lumped the entire, it's not Christianity alone, it's Christian nationalism. There's been a lot of redefining of words. But when you go through this and you look at something, look, there are some pretty bad people on this list, and kudos to them for having that. But they have a lot of people that should not dare be on this list. And it's just freedom of speech. It's a freedom of a difference of opinion. This is one of the things that when I look at the SPLC and what they have on their website and the things that they're espousing. So I guarantee you that Moms for Liberty didn't get any money from the SPLC in their little undercover investigative, thing, but the KKK did, right? Like, how does the money go to them, but it doesn't go to the Moms of Liberty? Well, it's because, Moms of Liberty aren't as much of an extremist group, but we're going to put them on the list, and then we're going to make sure that the money goes to the KKK, and we're going to use them to be able to plop them in here. Again, I will say this is all alleged, but the DOJ has enough of a case that they're going to bring indictments, criminal charges. And so the story is that the SPLC had plants in this whole Unite to Right fundraising effort that they did. Think about it. You're giving money as somebody says, yeah, get rid. We want to put away all of these white supremacist groups, yada, yada, yada. Well, as you're giving money to Unite to Right, they're giving money to the white supremacist groups. Look, their claim, we're just trying to go undercover with them. Like, why don't you do, like, what's his name? What's the guy, James something or other, who would take a camera and he wouldn't be part of the organization. And if they were, they would go in and video and they would immediately get the stuff out. But how much do you think they're getting paid? Millions of dollars to be an informant? That just doesn't add up. It seems like an easy scapegoat way.
Yeah, James O'Keefe. He's got O'Keefe Media.
James O'Keefe. There you go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he got kicked out of his own organization that he apparently started.
Because the board went. Elitist left, which is like, that's ironic that gets listed there.
It's blowing my mind. So, Josh, when you heard about this, I know you stay up on these things. Mm-hmm. What were your thoughts?
Well, it reminds me of, I can't remember where I heard it, but I remember hearing this. So I can't pin the quote to someone, but it was create the chaos you're there to cure, and they will worship you.
Yeah.
Create the chaos you're there to cure, and they will worship you. And what it is that theory being, like, I think of the best way to explain that to a lot of folks would be a bunch of people have seen Star Wars episodes 1, 2, 3, right?
Yeah.
And then you have both sides of the war being funded by the same enemy, right?
Yeah.
So they're creating the chaos. So the separatists are not actually the separatists. They're all Sith.
Right.
Right? But both within the main government, who's trying to centralize power, and the separatists who are pretending to be the antithesis of that.
Right.
So they would be your white supremacist groups, the Moms of Liberty. They would be the ones that are listed that are actually supposedly consequential, above and beyond what they list, because they list certain things just to kind of point fingers at things that they want to try to get rid of,
right,
and lump them together, but creating the chaos within these others, just like the separatists in Star Wars. You have the same thing happening. Everything's being funded, and then they're presented as this big threat, so it's got to be taken out.
Yeah,
and this is the exact same thing you're seeing play out with the Southern Poverty Law Center, and our own groups that are supposedly in this country and all over the place. They're just the separatists. They're the paid separatists.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of center is the decentralization of the power, and people keep throwing money at it because they're like, oh, we got to get rid of these racist groups that exist.
Right.
Let me tell you something. The actual racists that are out there are so few, so far in between.
Yeah.
So beyond like rarity. You'd be more likely to trip over a diamond walking down the street than to run into someone who's an extreme racist who's actually part of one of these groups for real, and not just a paid person. That's how prevalent this is. That's how fake this is. And that's why that's all I can think about when I see this stuff, and they're going to try to say, oh, you can't prove it because shell companies are extremely hard to prove.
Yeah.
They are. So it's kind of a waving it in your face, like, haha, I got away with it, and you can't prove it.
Right.
Watch them cook.
Yeah. I think this DOJ, unlike Trump's first 4 years, I think this DOJ is a little bit more reserved in what I feel like they would want to bring more and indict more people into all sorts of crazy stuff that's going across the country. But I feel like they're being a little bit more careful. I think that the biggest problem we run into as in our party is having to deal with these activist judges. And I don't want to get into that topic, but I feel like the activist judges is the last line of defense for the Democrats, because we have broken through every one of their walls, and now they're just, okay, hey, judge, you got to do something here. And so they throw up some erroneous, like very ambiguous, like reason for why they're not allowing something for Trump to go through or whatever. And it's just like, oh my gosh. I mean, in some ways, Trump and the administration is sort of like Teflon, but at the same time, it's like, come on, at what point do we not say you're an activist judge? Okay. This is getting ridiculous.
Yeah. But
and then
the reason you're not seeing these handcuffs go on, you're not seeing the indictments and the perp walks, person after person, is because of a lot of that garbage going on, and they're being a lot more careful because they have to remove all reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
The left doesn't have to do that. They just have to say something
just throw it out there,
and then it's gospel, right?
Yeah.
Just like J6ers. Okay, because we know that there was so much fallacy going on there. But when it comes to anything that's happening with the left, you have to. It's the burden of the right to go beyond all reasonable doubt.
Right.
That's the burden of proof that we have to come to. It's an unfortunate double standard, and it does exist, but there's no other way. So that's why they're being so careful. And this stuff will pick up, because you're seeing Eric Swalwell already stepped down. You're seeing Ilhan Omar is probably going to be on her way out very shortly. Marjorie Taylor Greene was like, "Oh, I'm not going to run again. I wonder why." All these people that are stepping down, stepping away, and all of a sudden just like, I don't want to have anything to do with politics anymore. It's because you know that there are things coming, and you want to be out of the limelight. But the spotlight's still going to come for them.
Yeah.
It's still going to come for them. The truth is still going to come out, and these things will come to pass. It's going to take more time because they have to make concrete cases, and they've come to that realization.
I think that's where we struggled in his first 4 years, his first term, that we had a terrible attorney general. Terrible. It was terrible. I'll say this too. I've always called it, to me, it's like the comparison of, I call it the Batman Joker dilemma, where you've got Batman who is always playing by the rules for the most part. Yes, he's a vigilante, but he plays by a certain rules of ethics in the code on certain things, where the Joker's just laughing in his face, and he's like, I know you're not going to let me die, or I know you're not going to do this, or I know you're not going to do that, because it's not within you to do it. I get to break all the rules and all the laws and get away with it, because I know you're not going to do anything about it. I'm going to go to jail. I'm going to get out. I'm going to do this, and I feel like, the Republicans, we play the Batman part so often, and we haven't learned how to be able to fight fire with fire, but at the same time, stay within our own morals and ethics. Like, there are things we can do. We can stop being so, I think Michael Nolan says it's so great. Stop being squishes. There's too many squish Republicans out there that are just like so soft. we need a little fire. And I think Trump brings that, and it's starting to bring out some more people to have a little bit more fire. Now, again, there's a lot of things I just can't stand about our president that he does. It just rubs me the wrong way. But I understand that's why he got voted for that, and I understand that. But I think now he's on his last term, on his way out, he's got to be really aware of how he presents what he wants to do and what the optics of that looks like, because we have a midterm that's coming, and we need to be able to not lose any ground in the House and the Senate. We have a presidency that's coming up in 2 years after that we've got to make sure we don't lose any ground in everything. So I look at this, and you're right, Democrats just, okay, this is a drop in a bucket for them. It's going to be a new cycle and gone in 2 weeks, and we move on. And it's typically how it goes, but I feel like so much is coming out. You've got all the fraud in Minnesota. You got all the fraud discovered in California. It's like, if it's there and it's there, where else could it be?
Oh, right here in Indiana.
Don't act like it's not there, right?
There's
Fraud
a
wherever it's at.
not too far from my house, like within 2 miles.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Always closed, never. One car there, and guess what's in the parking lot? BMW.
Oh yeah. we there's some places in Florida we would always sort of like wonder about that too. Hey, all right. So I want to jump to another topic, if that's all right with you, buddy. Let's give this a little airtime, because I've not really been able to talk with you about it. I do want to talk about the Iran conflict. I want to talk real briefly on what your thoughts are on us being involved, Israel being involved, and all of that happening. The Strait of Hormuz, that and all of that. Also the UN. There was something that recently happened. Iran was appointed to a council for the UN. So I'll go ahead and read that. We can talk about that too. The UN's Economic and Social Council recently nominated Iran to a UN committee called, this is unbelievable, the Committee for Program and Coordination. That committee helps shape and coordinate UN programs, including areas, human rights, women's rights, gender equality, disarmament, terrorism prevention, and that is what the UN has decided to. And now, when the UN votes, there's no yay or nay. It's just, does anybody oppose? Like, does anybody have something they want to say? And if everybody is silent, then it's like, okay, they're allowed. Now, the U.S. made a public declaration of their disapproval of it, but nobody else, the U.K., France, Germany, Spain, Italy, all of them there said nothing about the UN putting Iran on this Committee for Program and Coordination, where they will help shape human rights, women's rights, terrorism prevention, and disarmament around the world. I mean,
and they wonder why so many people believe in a globalist elite system.
Oh my goodness, dude! Oh my goodness!
If that's not painting that picture with one country being added to the UN, I don't know what is.
Yeah. So keeping that in mind, tell me about your thoughts. What about us? What about us in this conflict? What do you think?
So at first, I was on the outs with it, especially that very first attack. But then,
now is this pre the nuclear facilities bombing?
Just the nuclear facility bombing.
Okay.
Because I was just like, well, they haven't come up with it yet. They're probably not going to,
Right.
But then the things came out where the claim is, and you never can. I mean, with it being in a foreign country, you never can really tell 100%. Is it really happening there? But the claim is that they got above 60% enrichment in uranium. So with that being said, no other country has got beyond 20% and not been stopped.
Right.
They got to 60%. The problem I had with that, even still at that point, was you go back to 2003, 2004, when we're hearing about the things that were happening with the corruption in our own country. And then they say, why did we go to war with Vietnam? Why did we go here? Why do we go there? And you start really looking into those things, and you're like, oh, and then you hear a lot of people saying, Well, the next thing we're going to say is Iran, and these are the excuses that we're going to use.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the exact excuses being used.
Right.
So now I'm like, ooh, then I'm on the fence.
Right.
Then it happens, and they show video.
Mm-hmm.
And these facilities are for sure some kind of nuclear facility.
Right.
We got a pretty good idea what nuclear facilities look like. We have them in the States. So then I was like, okay, I'm on board with that. But then we go back because we're supporting our biggest ally, Israel. That's the first story we hear about going back there. And then it became, we got to make sure that there's no more of those nuclear facilities.
Right.
All right.
Did we get them all the first time? Yeah.
Yeah. I thought, they said that we got them all the first time, but then now we're saying we're not. And then they're throwing this next thing against the wall to see if it sticks and saying, well, we're liberating the people. Mm-hmm. Which is it?
Right.
So that makes me think, it's like, why are you saying this, that, and the other? I'm not saying that we shouldn't be there, because I think liberating the people is good.
Right.
And I do agree with that, because I know that there are some of our Christian brothers and sisters specifically that are finding freedom because we're bombing. Right. They're able to go to church. They're able to freely open up the Bible and talk about it. They can go do that. There was a mural over a highway overpass that it's gone viral on the internet. It's right there in the middle of Iran. But outside of that, I did not want to be there. I don't think that there is a reason for us to be there. But then we get to the straight, and you're like, oh, okay, that is a reason for us to be there. Right. But as support. Right. We're doing all the heavy lifting. Yeah. And then once again, you're looking at UK, France, UK admitting that they have no navy. Right. Oops. That's an oversight, because they used to be world's largest.
Yeah. I mean, they're an island, for goodness sake. Mm-hmm.
So you might want to fix that. You might want to start building some ships yesterday. And and China hears this and goes, oh, what? The UK doesn't have. So yeah, you're having all these things going on and moving pieces that you're like, okay, how much else in the heavy lifting are we going to have to do? Because we present it to the UK, we present it to France, we present it to all those people that are buying from Iran, buying these, buying energy. We'll put it that way. We'll use those words. Buying energy from them. And they could have been buying from America all along. I don't know why they weren't. Now they have to. Yeah. But it's like, hey, why don't you go clean up your mess? It's in your hemisphere. That makes good sense. This is the agreement that we had. Are you going to hold to it? Nope. Not a single one showed up. More soldiers from those countries showed up when they were worried about Greenland coming to being an American territory.
I know. Isn't that crazy? I didn't think about that. It is insane the amount of response we got because of Greenland versus Iran. It just, oh my goodness. Yeah. So I don't want to be in another war. I don't want to. At the same time, sometimes some wars just have to be fought. War is sometimes necessary, sometimes no, sometimes it's just, sometimes it's unjust. The people that have been running Iran have not just been isolated to their own country. They have been shouting death to America since 1979. They have killed hundreds of Americans over the years, and either directly or even more indirectly through their proxies, right? They have funded terrorism all around the world. When people want to argue they're no direct threat to us, I would say, well, you mean to tell me you really don't believe they had any hand in 9/11 at all? Like, you think they had nothing to do with that at all? I would think you're probably very naive to think that. Not to say that they were the full force behind it, but to think they weren't involved at all.
I think they were definitely recruited.
Definitely.
Yeah. Iran is a country filled with, mostly, not all, because you have some good Christian brothers and sisters there.
Yeah.
A lot of specifically the Muslim population, very low IQ, and very, very leadable into whatever they can, what fits their ideology. If they can be, they can be convinced very easily. A lot of IQ that's not exactly above 80 points. Right. So easily manipulated. Yeah. And they have an ideology that they're glued to because it's what they were taught.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's definitely. I think Iran is definitely. I think the world is safer now that the Ayatollah and most of the leadership is gone. However, in saying that, there is a lot of question marks. Okay, let's get rid of the nuclear. Let's make sure completely that they have no nuclear capabilities. I thought that we did that the first time, but no, there's something else. So we've got to make sure we do it this time. Okay. So what really is it? Is this going to be another Kuwait cover up where it's not about the oil, it's about the oil, right?
it's always about the oil. That's
Whatever it is, right?
I say this all the
Now,
time. So I'm getting
I
those
think he,
serious WMD vibes.
yeah,
When we talk about some nuclear stuff.
I think he has been open about the oil situation, though. I do think that's
Yes.
something he is not, he's not hid from. But also too, it's like, it's telling me, I think Israel is definitely. I'm not Tucker Carlson. I'm not Candace Owens when it comes to this near anti-Semitism, if not outright anti-Semitic comments that they make. In Tucker Carlson's weird idea of that as Christians we should not support Israel. Like he just wants to single it out to the government as if the government somehow disconnected from the country. I just completely think he has just foiled that and just fumbled that all over the place. But I think this is setting off it's really setting up, and this is where I sort of wanted to talk about end times, but I don't want to dive too much into it. Mm-hmm. I think it's really setting up an end times stage because we're seeing really what the one world order is about, and we're seeing how somehow, for some reason, Iran has a grip on the UN and cannot get, and it's even Russia too. The same thing. Like, how in the world do you still buy oil from Russia, yet you're threatened by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and you want the U.S. to help you guys out, but you're still funding Russia's war by still buying their oil? It doesn't make sense to me, and I think more than anything, it really pulls the veil away from what the European Union is all about. They're all about for their own self-interest, but even more so, they're against the U.S. I just really think that for whatever reason, they are absolutely 100%. They have gone liberal enough in their own countries, even though Italy, or is it Greece? Which one is it that has a very conservative prime minister now?
Oh, Italy.
She has even sort of distanced herself in some ways in this whole conflict. And I get that. It's not so much about Iran. It's just about this separation. Do I think it's Trump? No. I know a lot of people tell me, well, Trump is just really isolated in America. I don't think so. Mm-hmm. I think what has happened is people think that we need to be liked, and we don't. We just need to be respected, and we need to be shown the same kind of respect that we've shown everybody else. In terms of what you just said, the Strait of Hormuz, we have done all the heavy lifting, and that oil does not contribute to us at all. Like, we get nothing out of that strait being open or closed.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And so because of that, we're doing all the heavy lifting, and the people that are benefiting it are doing nothing and getting all the benefit of that. And so it's like, I think what we're seeing is the nations beginning to align a certain way. I just watched a documentary called The Dragon Prophecy on Angel Studios. If you have not seen it, I encourage everybody to see it. Did you see it?
No, but I know of the
book. Mm-hmm. The book is called The Dragon Prophecy by Jonathan Cahn, and oh my gosh, the documentary is awesome. But it brings up some real questions about Revelation and end time and eschatology and how this is unfolding. But that documentary was made before Iran was being bombed and that regime was being removed. But that's the other question, right? What's next? I get what we did in Venezuela, and I'm glad we pulled out of there and did not to try to establish anything, and actually left the vice president still there to do, even though she was under the president that we took. That was so awesome, by the way. But with Iran, it's different. Like, you have these people that were protesting, and now it's like, where are you? What are you doing? Like, we have decimated the leadership. I get it. The IRG is still in control and still in power, but very weakly. what are y'all doing as a nation? You want us to continue bombing, but who is going to take over? What is our exit strategy from this? Like,
Yeah.
Trump did not say it was going to happen in a week.
Yeah,
I get
we're
that.
finishing April, so
But it's getting a timeline. And the further it goes, closer to midterms, it's not going to look good for us, you know?
Yeah, well, and for in Indiana, we have our primaries coming up here very soon.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have basically a Chicago in Indiana that pretty soon if we're not careful, we're going to look like Illinois.
Yeah.
Not careful, we'll be like Illinois, with Indiana controlling everything about what happens in this state.
You know what this Iran situation makes me realize, though?
What's that?
Is more and more looking at it. It's the race to unite the global entities and resources and power.
Yeah.
Under one roof.
Yeah.
There's one country standing in the way. Why does nobody help America? Because it's the last country standing in the way of this uniparty that's global.
Yeah.
It's that's why we're seen as isolationists. That's why we're seen as the empire. We're seen as the bad guy. We're painted as the bad guy. And it's like, and then maybe Israel's kind of doing that, but I think there's some selfish stuff going on there that's specific. But they are in fact an isolationist country, and they're not quiet about it. They tell you exactly who they are. So I'm not mad at them for that, because that's who they are. But America is truly the last country to stand in the way of the globe becoming one entity under this whatever figure that becomes the Antichrist, the beast, and all this other stuff unfolding. It could happen. It could happen soon, but that's an exposure of it. It's an exposure of it because, look, all these resources. Oh, well, when we were down in Venezuela, Cuba coming up. These are
Cuba's another thing. Yep.
Are we going to see any help removing these regimes that are totalitarian and keeping these people not be free? Right. No, we're not going to see any help. Why? Because it's actually dismantling this this unity of the globe, all working together as one to become this one government.
Yeah.
Because communism subjects the people to a thing that they can't get out of, and then they're forced to become part of this. Yeah. But if we break them free from it, that's a problem for the globe, and that's where they have to stand back because they know that when it comes boot to butt, America's going to still come out on top, at least for now.
Yeah.
When that day comes, when America can no longer do that, and I hope it's not in our lifetime, at least. Yeah. But when America can no longer do that, because eventually countries do fall, always. That's when you'll see this consolidation of power, this consolidation of government. It's already happened everywhere else.
Yeah.
We just happen to be the one last country standing in the way. And that's why when Trump says they're coming after you, I'm just standing in the way. It's the same thing with the U.S. saying they're coming after all of you around the world. We're just standing in the way.
Yeah. You know what I find interesting? What I'm going to find interesting is we're going to find out really where the U.S. stands when Trump's out of office and we have the next Republican president, because I can't imagine we're going to have a Democrat president again, because I just look at their options and it's just, my gosh, you would have to be,
especially if the SAVE Act passed. But,
oh my gosh, it's just ridiculous. But, I'm honestly really concerned about what is going to happen after he's out of office. And people are no longer like, okay, we don't have to deal with this guy anymore. We can just really let our hair down, so, for lack of a better term. We can start saying the quiet parts out loud now, now that Trump's not in office. How would somebody like J.D. Vance handle that, or Marco Rubio? How would they handle it? I think they're definitely more diplomatic than Trump would be, but at the same time, I do think they're pretty hard-nosed as well. And I think that there's probably a little bit of mentoring going on. I'm sure that both of them would say, yeah, we do a couple of things different, but it probably won't be in policy, but more in diplomacy. I think that they would definitely still have the hard line. But at the same time, it's just, there's something about Trump that people have that you just don't know what he's going to do, right? He says this, but he says this, he never does it, and that's not a bad thing because what he said was outlandish. But or over here, he's like, he does this. He didn't even say he was going to do that. He just all of a sudden decides to do it.
Yeah.
You just don't know what the guy's going to do in some ways, but that's the part about him that you can always expect him to do the unexpected. And if you are shocked by that, again, like him posting, the picture of him as Jesus, like I was not shocked by that. I was not happy about it, and it was dumb. And one of the reasons why I'm not a Trump fan, but at the same time, I'm not going to stop voting Republican and stop trying to get us a midterm win simply because he does that. I didn't nominate him and elect him to be my spiritual advisor, like by no means,
Well,
all right.
he creates a ton of memes, and it's like it was throwaway. I'm sure that it was not thought through. It was just kind of tossed out there. It was like, oh yeah.
Well, he didn't even make it.
Yeah.
It was made by somebody else. He
It's
just
almost
saw it.
always the staffers that they're like, hey, wouldn't this be good? And
I think it was a pastor.
Yeah.
I think it was a pastor that made it. And what I think is funny is like, I do think Trump's a smart guy. I think he's really smart, but I think he's also really ignorant in some areas, and social media being one of them. I think he's just he's a great troll, but when he sees things like that, I really think, he is definitely an ego maniac. He does have a huge ego, but he also, I think he sees things like that. And he's like, oh man, this is cool, but doesn't stop to think, sort of like a Democrat, right? I want to do this, but doesn't think of what the forward thinking of what may happen as a result of you doing this. That is like 90% of his tweets. So, all right.
I was thinking like the cycle is going to move on just as fast, so I wasn't too worried about it. And the other thing I looked at it when I took a second look at it, I was like, well, you don't necessarily have to look at him as being Jesus in this depiction. He could just be like, because he talked about like it was himself as a doctor, and I thought about it. I was like, well, if you think about it, laying hands on is a thing. The Holy Spirit being transferred during healing, that's a thing.
Yeah.
So it's like if you look at it that way,
I'm not even trying to. Yeah. I'm not even giving him that, man, because there was just too much light and stuff. There's just too much. Like somebody's like, oh yeah, he's dressed up like the Pope. Look, the Pope wears this too. I'm like, no. This man is healing somebody. He's got light in his hands. Like I'm not going to give him that. But at the same time, you know what? I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked by it. He did it. I mean, there are some sacrilegious things that other administrations have done too.
Oh yeah.
Let's not even talk
about the alternative, right? We think about the alternative.
Come on, man.
We have President Kamala Harris, at the DNC for goodness sake, at the DNC they had abortion buses lined up in the corner.
Yeah. So don't be pointing fingers.
Yeah.
Democrats. Don't be pointing fingers.
Deal with a picture. As a Christian, I certainly would rather deal with a picture and be upset about a picture for 14 seconds, which is about how long it took me to get over it. Or abortion clinics being wrapped around my city because they're just buses everywhere doing it. It's like, oh, we're going to bring abortion to your door. Oh no.
Well, it's funny. It's funny how they point fingers. They don't even believe in Jesus. They don't even believe in God, and they're going to sit there and start crying blasphemy. So I do want to talk about something that is quite on the liberal agenda, and I want to get your opinion real quick, and then we're gonna close this out. Mm-hmm. All right, the biggest gay pride festival ever. Where's it happening?
I don't know.
It is happening in Sodom and Gomorrah.
Oh,
site.
Right. Okay, yeah.
All right, by the Dead Sea, and who is putting it on?
I heard it was Israel.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Can the world get any crazier, man?
Well, Israel is a secular country.
I know, but still, it's like the government, that was from the state X account that they put that out. State of Israel X account, and I tell people like you don't be shocked because I think it's like 60% of Jews are ethnic Jews. They're not religious. Mm-hmm. They don't believe in God. Many of them are atheists, and so it's like, I mean, it makes sense why they're Democrats. But I was just like, oh my gosh, and it's not so much Israel doing it, but it's the fact of what it is, what they're doing, and where they're doing it, right? Mm-hmm. Former area of the proposed Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay. For those that don't know, it was destroyed by fire and brimstone because of all the sexual perversion that was happening there, by the way. A guy named Lot lived there. He was the nephew of Abraham, and he was willing to give up his daughters because there's some guys that wanted to have sex with two men that he was holding in his house that were actually angels. Like that craziness there, right? No surprise it's near the Dead Sea, the lowest point on earth, right? I mean, there's so many ironic correlations there.
Not only that, but like it being filled with salt, it being filled with salt, and then what they said about Lot's wife, because she turned around, looked back, and she was as a pillar. Now I think it's literal, but I think that the fire was just it was on a radioactive level and probably turned her to ash, and so she was like a pillar of salt because she was ash immediately, just like a radioactive blast. Because as a matter of fact, when they actually go over the area where the proposed fire came from heaven, it's still radioactive to this day.
Yeah. And nothing lives there. Nothing can live there. Nothing lives there. And it wasn't just Sodom and Gomorrah. There's a nation surrounding it too. I was showing my students on a map. And I was like, look, Sea of Galilee. See how green it is around down here. Look at that. Dead Sea. Look how brown it is around the entire thing. I mean, other than the fact that it is a sea full of salt, 7 times more than the ocean, they say. Mm-hmm. But outside of that too, I mean, there's a reason why there is not a lot of life there. And part of it is because God destroyed a significant little portion of it due to a city called Sodom and Gomorrah, or cities called Sodom and Gomorrah. Well, brother, I appreciate it, man. Great episode. Everybody watching, thank you for showing up for our first live episode of IMSP, and not going to be the last one. For sure. I got some other topics that I really want to talk with Josh with, and just had a lot of fun tonight, just getting into some of this stuff, talk about the Zeitgeist movie, and then just seeing what's going on with those crazy Democrats. Look, I got Democrat friends. I love you guys if you're watching. But man, again, I said in a video earlier, leadership's crazy town. And Trump is crazy town too. So we know what we got something in common. But Josh, do you have anything you wanna say before I sign off here?
Oh, I always tell everybody to stay in trouble, and I'll tell you why here in just a second. For those of you who are on Rumble, do stick around because I'll raid you guys out from here over to our good friend Eddie Block as we come to a close. Everybody else on the other platforms. We'll just have to see you on the next one after we close. Which is, morning words, 9 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning. So
there you go. There you go. Morning word. Josh, appreciate you, sir. Best producer in the industry. Thank you, sir, for taking care of me and looking some things up and getting some things on the screen. Everybody else, have a blessed weekend and rest of your week until we see you next time. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell for the next time we come on, so that way you don't miss an episode. Again, it makes sense, right? Try to make sense of the world, but the Christian worldview is the best way to do it. We hope that you got something out of this. Have a great night. God bless. We'll see you later.
Yeah, definitely. And so we could say the stay in trouble thing. So just
stay in trouble thing. My bad.
Yeah. So the reason
I'm still new at this, man.
Yeah, it's all good. So the reason I say stay in trouble is because if you have Christ in your hearts, you will in fact be in trouble with the world. We've been discussing that a little bit, haven't we?
Yeah.
The world doesn't want you living under his grace. That's your salvation first and foremost. And I pray that each and every one of you has that. I really do. The world doesn't want you reading his word, praying to him, having a relationship with him. And it definitely doesn't want you going out and doing something so dangerous as telling others about him. So I want to encourage you to do all that anyway. Stay in trouble. Man, do we love you guys. Hugs. And as Danny said, we'll see you on the next one.
That's right. God bless.
Bye.